The victory gave Jamaica its 8th Olympic gold. It was the first time a Jamaican man or woman was winning gold in the 100 meters at the Olympics. Bolt stunned the world, winning in a world record 9.69 seconds.
Set. And a fair start, Asafa Powell. Usain Bolt is also out well. Here they come down the track. Usain Bolt sprinting ahead, winning by daylight and setting a world record 9.69. The wind is okay. New world record. How easy was that?
Bolt says he gets joy from making the country proud.
Well, 9.69, it's the world's record and Olympic gold medal. Your reaction?
Well, I'm not really worried about the world record. I'm an Olympic gold medalist, so I'm just happy right now.
What could you have run had you not eased up over the last 20 meters?
I'm not even worried about that, really. I'm just happy I won.
What about winning the first gold medal for your country?
Yeah, that's brilliant. I told them I'm coming here to come do this, and that's what I did. So I know the country must be going crazy right now, so I'm just happy with myself.
You just experienced a Jamaican Olympic.
Starting a renovation project? Start right. Start here at H&L Rapid True Value for all your essentials at our 10 stores island-wide. The time by H&L Rapid True Value is
nationwide time, 5 o'clock.
Crisp and refreshing. Room temperature or chilled. A pure water would drink. The temperature by Pure Water is
31 degrees Celsius in Kingston and Montego Bay.
From the Nationwide News Network, comprehensive, incisive, tough. This is Nationwide at 5.
Good afternoon, I'm Ricardo Brooks.
And I'm Robian Williams.
In Nationwide News at this hour, prosecution faces rough day in court as it opens arguments demanding a retrial for Vybz Kartel and his co-accused.
The court warns that it will not send the case back for retrial unless the state can prove that the original witnesses are available.
Case management hearing for Leota Bradshaw and her 3 co-accused pushed back to July 18.
Opposition leader Mark Golding is moving forward with a defamation lawsuit against Deputy Speaker of the House of Representatives, Roy Clark.
My lawyers have been instructed to file a lawsuit against Roy Clark for defamation. Justice will be done.
The PMP's Michael Phillips says the issue of Mark Golding's British citizenship will be dealt with internally by the party.
The party leader has given us his opinion on the citizenship issue and it's being dealt with internally. Not only dealing with the party leader's issue, but also the whole constitution reform.
In news from the rest of the world, the U.S. says Russian warships in Cuba are no threat.
London man jailed for stealthing after removing condom without consent.
In headline sports, new information emerged regarding the inclusion of Leon Bailey in the Jamaica Copa America 26-man squad.
And later in our broadcast, in the cover story at 5:35, the prosecution faced tough questions in court today as it sought to make the case to retry Vybz Kartel for murder. You'll hear more.
Also in the cover story, MP for South East St. Anne, Lisa Hanna, says the retention of the Buggery Law affects the ability of Jamaicans to seek justice. She's called for a redefinition of rape to make it gender neutral. Policy Advocacy Manager at Equality for All Foundation Jamaica, Nicole Wilson, will join us.
In Public Opinion at 6:26, we'll ask, what should the JFF do about the Leon Bailey issue? Give us your comments by logging on to our Facebook page, Nationwide News Network, and by tweeting us at Nationwide Radio and message us on WhatsApp at 876-285-5693. You can also leave your comments on Instagram at Nationwide90FM.
In the nation's business at 6:40, lead researcher for the Caribbean Policy Research Institute, Alexander Coswell, says there's no correlation between poverty and violence.
We have enough research on violence in Jamaica and in other countries to know that there is no causal link between poverty or lack of education or lack of employment opportunities and high levels of violence.
Is he right? National security expert Professor Anthony Clayton and Managing Director of the Jamaica Social Investment Fund, Omar Sweeney, will tell us.
All these and more as we take you home on air on your mobile, Nationwide 90 FM, Nationwide Radio, JM.com, and on the Nationwide app available on the Google Play and the App Store. This Thursday afternoon, it's Thursday, June 13, 2024.
News at 5 is brought to you by the new Chizza Zinger from KFC. Topped with marinara sauce, mozzarella cheese, and pepperoni. Available for a limited time only. KFC, it's finger-licking good.
If it's news, it's got to be Nationwide 90 FM.
Now to the details. The Court of Appeal has warned that it will not send the murder case involving Vybz Kartel and his 3 co-accused back for retrial unless the state can prove that all the original witnesses are available to testify. It was one of several grim declarations on what was a rough day in court for the prosecution as it opened its arguments in favor of retrying the 4 men for the 2011 murder of Clive Lizard Williams. Acting Director of Public Prosecutions Claudette Thompson faced tough questions related to the cost of a retrial, the availability of witnesses, and the risk of resubjecting the men to a prejudicial process. Ricardo Brooks has been covering the matter.
The Acting Director of Public Prosecutions had barely got to her feet when it became clear Thursday would be no easy day in the Court of Appeal. Claudette Thompson told the justices of the seriousness of the crime of murder and demanded an order for a retrial. Ms. Thompson pointed out that the crime was allegedly committed over an illegal gun and that the victim's body had never been found. The senior prosecutor maintained that justice must be done both ways. But Justice MacDonald Bishop wanted to know the exact cost of justice in the Kartel matter. The senior jurist repeatedly pressed the prosecution as to whether the expense to the state to mount a retrial was a burden Jamaica would be prepared to bear. The acting DPP responded that the state would just have to foot the bill. Clearly unconvinced, Justice MacDonald Bishop responded, quote, "That's a novel interpretation of that factor, but I leave it alone," end quote. The judge pressed on, quote, "The law is really if one case is going to deplete our resources, time, money, human. That's what the case law says. We have to consider, do we really put our economy through that?" End quote. The acting DPP responded, quote, "I don't know if we can put a fixed cost to justice," end quote. Justice MacDonald Bishop shot back, "That's a requirement of the law," end quote. She eventually urged the acting DPP to use her time wisely. Conceding that she was not persuading the judges on the point of cost, the senior prosecutor responded, quote, "Very well, milady, I will not belabor the point," end quote. But she maintained that murder must be treated with seriousness. She told the court not to forget the murder, why it was done, and what happened after. The senior prosecutor did not fare much better when the matter of the timeline for a retrial was raised. Justice MacDonald Bishop pressed the prosecutor as to whether she agrees that a retrial date is uncertain. "Yes, my lady," responded the acting DPP. The prosecutor could only offer 2025 as her best estimate of a timeline for Kartel to be retried. Justice MacDonald Bishop declared that the Vybz Kartel case has placed a microscope on what she described as systemic problems in Jamaica's judicial system. She says those problems may come to, quote, "bite us somewhere along the way," end quote. Justice MacDonald Bishop also warned the prosecution that the Court of Appeal would not be sending the case back for a retrial unless the state can prove it has all its witnesses. Senior Deputy Director of Public Prosecutions Jeremy Taylor, who was the lead prosecutor in the original trial, has submitted an affidavit swearing that most of the original witnesses are available. But Justice MacDonald Bishop pointed out that there was no evidence that Mr. Taylor had spoken to any of the witnesses, nor was it clear that he had been in touch with all of them. The justice pointed out that simply providing a list of witnesses to the court by itself doesn't cut it. "We can't send a case when we know that you're running down witness over there," said Justice MacDonald Bishop. "We can't send a case when we know that you're running down witnesses over there," said Justice MacDonald Bishop. The prosecution will continue its arguments at 9:30 Friday morning. Ricardo Brooks for Nationwide News.
Meanwhile, the acting director of public prosecutions, Claudette Thompson, has told the Court of Appeal that the breach of cartel's constitutional rights is justified. The senior prosecutor conceded that the length of time the matter has been before court may be inordinate, but she maintains the breach is reasonable. The acting DPP says the court must consider the chronology of the events, starting with the arrests of the men in 2011, the trial and convictions, and the appeals. Thompson says the breach of the right to a trial in a reasonable time is justified. But Justice MacDonald Bishop appeared skeptical of the argument, pointing out that the men have already spent almost 13 years in custody.
And the Court of Appeal says the prosecution must explain how evidence from the initial murder trial of Cartel and his co-accused made its way into the public domain. Justice Marva MacDonald Bishop, who is the lead judge of 3 who will decide whether a retrial will occur, asked how exhibits in the original trial became public. Justice MacDonald Bishop pointed to voice notes, videos, and voices from the original trial that have been widely circulated. The justice said she had a very real concern about the leak of evidence and how that may affect a retrial. Deputy Director of Public Prosecutions Yannick Forbes argued that the evidence was disclosed to all parties in the matter. He said while he was not laying blame on any side, there are many ways the evidence could have been leaked. During the trial, voice notes of conversations said to be with Vybz Kartel were sensationally revealed by Nationwide News. Meanwhile, Deputy DPP Forbes attempted to argue that a potential retrial will not be prejudiced by the public discourse around the initial case and the public revealing of the evidence. However, Justice MacDonald Bishop challenged Mr. Forbes' position. The justice stressed how many radio stations, social media platforms, and other forms of media have already picked up and carried the evidence.
Murder-accused Leota Bradshaw and her 3 co-accused will return to the Supreme Court on July 18 for another case management hearing. Bradshaw is charged with masterminding the kidnapping and murder of 10-month-old Soraya Paulwell, the daughter of East Kingston and Port Royal MP Philip Paulwell, and the child's mother, 27-year-old Tashina Patterson. Bradshaw, the alleged triggerman David Smith, Roland Balfour, and Bijan Black all appeared in court on Thursday. 2 other men, Richard Brown and Roshane Miller, pleaded guilty to the crime and were both sentenced. On Thursday, the media was not allowed inside the courtroom. Following the hearing, one of Bradshaw's attorneys, Deborah Martin, spoke with our news team.
Today, we've settled representation for all the persons. Remember the last occasion 2 persons did not have attorneys? Today, the representation was settled, so everyone now has an attorney. There was discussion about disclosure and where we're at, and timelines have been given for when that should be settled, and all should be done for us to come back to court on the 18th of July 2024. Hopefully by then we will be able to make case management orders. Indictment settled and served, all outstanding material disclosed, and anything that the defense might request or require arising from that which is disclosed would have been asked for. So hopefully by then we'll be able to have meaningful case management and a trial date set.
Deborah Martin, one of the attorneys representing murder-accused Leota Bradshaw. Bradshaw is also represented by Kelly Hamilton. Miss Patterson and baby Soraya were kidnapped and murdered on September 9, 2023.
Opposition leader Mark Golding is moving forward with a defamation lawsuit against Deputy Speaker of the House of Representatives Heroy Clark. Mr. Golding is alleging that on or about June 6, 2024, Mr. Clark published statements defamatory of him in a WhatsApp group called CC Business Network. It's alleged that those statements comprised utterly false claims about his wife and the origin of their relationship. The group has approximately 300 members. The letter says Mr. Clark's alleged statements have severely injured and damaged Mr. Golding's credit and business and have brought him into public scandal, odium, and contempt. Lawyers representing Mr. Golding wrote to Mr. Clark demanding an unreserved written apology along with payment for damages to be published no later than Monday of this week. However, this was not done. In a brief statement on the social media platform X on Thursday, Mr. Golding says justice must be done.
My lawyers have been instructed to file a lawsuit against Heroy Clark for defamation. Justice will be done.
Mark Golding, the opposition leader and PNP president, attempts to reach Mr. Clark for comment were unsuccessful. You're listening to the news on Nationwide at 5. We'll have more after these.
Value Drug Pharmacy offers curbside pickup and delivery of your branded and generic drugs. WhatsApp your prescription to 876-881-6695. The time by Value Drug Pharmacy is...
It's 14 minutes after 5.
Rentokil Initial offers air purification solutions with triple filtration and unique auto-sensing capabilities that neutralizes malodor and replaces it with clean air. Call Rentokil Initial at 926-4236 for more details.
The temperature by Rentokil is
31 degrees Celsius in Kingston and Montego Bay.
My dad is not just a regular dad.
I'm a G.
Machaji. The real big man. That's why we salute the boss.
It's not always easy to show Dad how much you love him, but for this Father's Day, say thank you to your boss dad with a gift from Fontana Pharmacy. Stop by any of our 6 locations to shop from a wide variety of products or shop online at fontanapharmacy.com now through Father's Day. Fontana Pharmacy, it's all good inside.
The Development Bank of Jamaica wants to see more businesses, more job creation, and better opportunities for people across Jamaica. That's why since day one, we've been dedicated to facilitating economic growth and development across all sectors, while providing funding and technical assistance to MSMEs, projects, and other businesses through our strong partnerships. Because helping to build better businesses helps to build a better Jamaican economy for everyone. Visit us at dbankjm.com for more info. DBJ, the business builder.
Continuing the news, Member of Parliament for North West Manchester, Michael Phillips, says the issue of Mark Golding's British citizenship will be dealt with internally by the party. The question was put to Mr. Phillips and several other opposition parliamentarians on Thursday.
That is being dealt with internally in the party. The party leader has given us his opinion on the citizenship issue, and it's being dealt with internally. So, once the party has come to a final conclusion on it, then I'm sure it will be made public. The conversation, not only dealing with the issue of the party leader's issue, but also just the whole constitution reform having to do with persons from the diaspora and persons sitting within Parliament and the role for those within the diaspora within the process of the Parliament, which includes the Senate.
With the exception of 2, the opposition parliamentarians simply refused to comment on the issue. The exceptions have been Senator Damien Crawford and Mr. Phillips. Both agreed that the matter of Mr. Golding's dual citizenship would be handled internally by the party's hierarchy. However, neither would provide their personal opinion on the subject. Mr. Phillips, who is also a PNP vice president, says he expects Mr. Golding to abide by the decision of the party once it has been made.
And Mr. Golding has given his commitment that based on the decision of the People's National Party after those discussions that he will abide by them.
Yes, and I take his word that he will.
Michael Phillips, Member of Parliament for North West Manchester, he was speaking with Nationwide's Siobhan Campbell.
The Finance Minister, Dr. Nigel Clarke, is reporting a significant improvement in the operations of automated banking machines, ABMs, by financial institutions across the country. This after the Bank of Jamaica, BOJ, issued several service standards in April to improve standards. Minister Clarke provided the update in the House of Representatives on Tuesday.
The report, as at the end of March, as compared to the prior period, showed that the number of ABMs in operation increased from 93% of the entire fleet in January 2024 to 97.5%. And the statistics from March as compared to January, 97.5% of ABMs were operational as opposed to 93% in January. In addition, the other headline statistic is that the licensees are to maintain at least 90% of their ABMs in operation with a minimum uptime of 95%. So for March, on average, that was achieved.
The new rules were implemented following public outcry over the poor services of ABMs island-wide. Minister Clark says the government's Twin Peaks model will come online in 2026. Under that model, the BOJ will assume full responsibility for supervising all bank and non-bank financial institutions. Dr. Clark is anticipating that more service-level standards will be established under the model, which will be legally binding.
The laws governing the BOJ and FSC do not at the present time provide them with the legal authority to enforce such standards related to consumer protection through the imposition of fines. It is proposed that this will be addressed under the legislative changes proposed under the Twin Peaks model. In the meantime, however, the service level standards for ABMs were developed and issued to address an urgent problem through consultation. It is anticipated that standards such as these will be incorporated as legally binding regulations when the Market Conduct and Consumer Protection Framework is passed into law as part of the Twin Peaks regime.
Dr. Nigel Clark there, the Minister of Finance and the Public Service.
World in a Minute is brought to you by ABC Electrical Sales. We make things as easy as ABC. Hose assembly and supply, equipping Jamaica for success.
And Charles O'Connor Consulting Network, COCN, driven by international accounting standards, modern technology and integrity.
The World in a Minute.
U.S. officials have played down Wednesday's arrival of 4 Russian vessels in Cuba for military drills. The visit of the vessels, which include a nuclear-powered submarine and a frigate, have been seen as a show of force amid Moscow's tensions with the West over the war in Ukraine. They are anchored at Havana Bay, some 90 miles or 145 kilometers from the U.S. state of Florida. The Pentagon says, quote, "We of course take it seriously, but these exercises don't pose a threat to the United States," end quote. Russia's defense ministry says the Admiral Gorshkov frigate and the Kazan submarine are both carriers of advanced weapons. They earlier conducted missile drills in the Atlantic, but Cuba's foreign ministry says none of the vessels has nuclear arms on board and their 5-day visit does not pose a threat to the region.
A man has been jailed for 4 years and 3 months in the United Kingdom in a rare conviction for stealthing. This is the process of taking a condom off during sex without consent. The 39-year-old from Brixton was sentenced on Thursday at Inner London Crown Court for the rape of a woman last year. The woman had consented to sex with the man on the condition a condom was used, but he removed it without her consent. Non-consensual condom removal is classified as rape under English and Welsh law. The case is being seen as a milestone. Metropolitan Police officers work with the victim to obtain screenshots of messages from the man in which he apologized for taking the condom off, explaining it was because he had not had sex in a, quote, long time. He then deleted the messages. The man was found guilty by a jury on April 2. The lead investigator says the police were dedicated to securing justice for the victim and will continue to raise awareness that this crime is indeed a form of rape.
World in a Minute was brought to you by ABC Electrical Sales. We make things as easy as ABC. Hose assembly and supply, equipping Jamaica for success.
And Charles O'Connor Consulting Network, COCN, driven by international accounting standards, modern technology and integrity.
Recapping the top stories making nationwide news at this hour. Prosecution faces rough day in court as it opens arguments demanding a retrial for Vybz Kartel and his co-accused.
The court warns that it will not send the case back for retrial unless the state can prove that the original witnesses are available.
Case management hearing for Leota Bradshaw and her 3 co-accused pushed back to July 18.
And opposition leader Mark Golding is moving forward with a defamation lawsuit against Deputy Speaker of the House of Representatives, Heroy Clark.
I'm Ricardo Brooks.
And I'm Robianne Williams.
And listeners, you can find the news on our website at nationwideradiojm.com and on the Nationwide app available on the Google Play and the App Store. News next, the headlines at 6.
News at 5 was brought to you by the new Pizza Zinger from KFC. Topped with marinara sauce, mozzarella cheese, and pepperoni. Available for a limited time only. KFC. It's finger licking good.
Accelerate your career with the right ally. Mona School of Business and Management. Explore our suite of highly ranked, specialized, globally competitive graduate degrees, including our internationally accredited MBA program. At MSBM, we nurture critical thinkers and innovative leaders, placing our graduates in a league of their own. Join the community of trailblazers making an impact at home and abroad. Apply online today. Global knowledge, regional solutions.
More savings, more choices. Get active with Active Home Center. The one-stop shop for everything for your home. We have more savings, more choices, unbelievable prices. Wide selection with the latest styles. The kitchen, bathroom, right down to the top. Buy the hottest items on spot, don't miss out. Best options under one roof, no doubt. More savings, more choices.
Visit us in store or online at www.activehomecenter.com.
We have more savings, more choices.
Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to Sports here on Nationwide 90 FM. I'm Wayne Walker. We start with news on football. Head coach of Jamaica's senior men's football team, Heimer Hallgrimsson, says he has moved on from Leon Bailey's decision not to represent the country. Bailey was originally listed in the Jamaica 26-man squad for the Copa America in the USA starting next week. However, a few minutes after the player's name appeared on the list, he took to social media to hint otherwise. Hallgrimsson says Bailey has the right to refuse to play for the country.
He decided not to want to play for Jamaica. That's his decision, and that's every player's right to refuse to play for the nation, and he opted to do that, not to play for Jamaica. End of story for me. Absolutely end of story. Now I would like just everyone to focus on those players that want to play for Jamaica and want to represent Jamaica. Let's put our focus and support to those players.
The Aston Villa Wingers representative Craig Butler was called by JFF General Secretary Dennis Chung for a meeting on Monday. Also at that meeting was Chairman of Professional Football Jamaica Limited Chris Williams. At the meeting, Butler pointed out 5 areas the JFF must address before Bailey agrees to come back. Among them, Bailey gets his own personal security when he's with the national team, a first-class flight, his own room, a review of the player's contract, and that Rudolph Speed be removed as head of the technical committee if he continues to be the head of the Premier League champions Cavalier. Butler said he also received a call from the head coach, Heimer Hallgrimsson, for a meeting at which he told the coach not to name Bailey in the squad until the conditions are met or before Butler, gets back to talk to the player. It was also argued that if Bailey agrees to join the squad, he would miss the first game against Mexico on June 22 because he's keeping his party on June 21 at Mass Camp. Now, Hallgrimsson also explained the reason behind the inclusion of Andre Blake, the captain and goalkeeper, and Amari Bell in the squad.
We went for a 23-man squad and opted to have 3 senior players as an optional players if they would be able to join to come in from injury. So that is how we decided to do it, to select the 23-man squad and then to have a player like Andre Blake back coming from a surgery on his knee. I think it would be good for the squad if he would be in one form or another. He's a captain, he's a leader in this team. It would be nice to have him on board, whether he is fully fit to play or not. Same I can say about Amari Bell, a very experienced good player in the squad, so it would be nice if we could make the squad at some point. It's a long shot, but we opted to put them in the squad in case we would go all the way.
That's Heimer Hallgrimsson. The team is leaving Jamaica on Sunday for Houston to prepare for their opening game against Mexico on June 22. Yeah. Defending champions England, they ripped through an overmatched Oman in Antigua today en route to an impressive 8-wicket win in their Group B clash at the ICC T20 World Cup at North Sound Ground. The English needed just 80 balls to dispatch woeful Oman for 47 runs, and it was led by Adil Rashid's 4 for 11 and identical 3 for 12 from Jofra Archer and Mark Wood. England then took 19 balls to get over the line, with Josh Butler making an unbeaten 24. England are now third in the group, and they battle Namibia in their last game, where a win could now force second-place Scotland to beat group leaders Australia on Sunday to deny the champions a spot in the Super 8s. Meanwhile, Bangladesh, they moved into second place in Group D, thanks to a 25-run win over the Netherlands at Arnoldsville in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Shakib Al Hassan, 64 not out, and Tanzid Hassan, 35, steered the Tigers to 159 for 5 in their 20 overs. The Netherlands were restricted to 134 for 8. And West Indies batsman Sherfane Rutherford has described his match-winning knock against New Zealand in Trinidad last night as the best of his career. Rutherford slammed an unbeaten 68 from 39 balls as the West Indies, from a precarious 30 for 5, went on to post 149 for 9 in their ICC T20 World Cup encounter at the Brian Lara Stadium. The Windies then restricted the Kiwis to 136 for 9 to win by 13 runs and secure a place in the Super 8s. Rutherford says he has not played a better knock.
You know, it's a World Cup. You know, this is my dream. I always wanted to play World Cup. I always want to perform in World Cup, and I think, you know, this one gonna stay close to my heart, and, you know, hopefully I can continue to, you know, take out good innings like this for my team and for myself. We have our meetings about, you know, rotating strike. It's a bit difficult in this tournament, I would say, so far because of the tough wickets, but, you know, as a team, our goal is to lessen the that balls, and I think, you know, good intent is one thing that we spoke a lot about, and, you know, you're gonna see a lot of rotation from us. We're gonna try our best, even though it's a tough surface, but we're gonna keep trying and trying, because, you know, we can only try our best, and that's, you know, our best may be enough.
Rutherford says the team is stacked with outstanding players, and anyone can produce similar heroics at any time.
Every game is important. We will always want to win every game. If we can win every game, we're going to take it. But, you know, it's good to get the Q in front of our name. It's just a part of the job. You know, our aim is to play the last game of the tournament. So, you know, we're going to look to keep improving and keep getting better. You know, we have been playing good cricket. There are good days and bad days. And, you know, one thing I learned that, you know, a team that's going to win any tournament, going to be different players stepping up on each time. And I think for the past 3 games, it has been 3 different players. So, you know, I'm not concerned because, you know, that's what, you know, champion team do. I was at the IPL and I observed a lot of things, and that was one of the key that, you know, stick with me. And, you know, it's just for us to keep building on our strength and our, you know, keep improving our game. And I think that's going to be the key for us.
Well done, Sherfane. Well done. Really, really well done. It was an absolute pleasure to sit and watch that knock, you know. And the West Indies will close their group campaign with a crunch game against Afghanistan, and that's on Monday in St. Lucia. And we close with the Olympic fact, the nationwide Olympic fact, and it's brought to you by Fontana Pharmacy.
This is Nationwide's Olympic Facts, brought to you by Fontana Pharmacy. It's all good inside.
Did you know that Usain Bolt is the only sprinter to win individual gold at 3 consecutive Olympic Games? Yes, that's a fact. Usain Bolt won gold medals in both the 100 and 200 meters in Beijing 2008, London 2012, and 2016 in Rio.
That was Nationwide's Olympic Facts, brought to you by Fontana Pharmacy. It's all good inside.
Yeah, and Dennis Barnamy in the YouTube space. Yes, you did tell me that the West Indies would have won, and they did, you know. We're looking forward to that game against Afghanistan on Monday. Should be a cracking game, you know. All right, that's sports. We're going to be back with more at 6:05.
Hyundai, the home of modern, premium, affordable vehicles. Call us at 876-630-1511. The time by Hyundai is
5:32.
You didn't know the government decreased JUTC bus fares? Yes, it's now 70 for adults, 25 for children, and 30 for pensioners. And in April, fares will go down even further to 50 for adults, 20 for children, and 25 for pensioners.
The temperature by the office of the Prime Minister is
32 degrees Celsius in Kingston and Montego Bay.
Attention engine enthusiasts in Jamaica. Did you know that Lucalza Caribbean is the only authorized distributor of Chevron lubricants? Lucalza has been the trusted partner for Chevron lubricants in Jamaica for over 13 years, offering the full range of Chevron and Texaco products including Ursa, Haviland, Supreme, Delo and more. For peace of mind and superior engine care, trust the Chevron lubricants portfolio, distributed by Lucalza Caribbean and their network of reliable resellers. Don't compromise your engine performance. Drive with Chevron. Drive with confidence.
Does your organization need help to achieve compliance with the Data Protection Act? Contact We Manage Trust today at 876-339-5982 or email info@wemanagetrust.com. Let their team help you to achieve compliance with confidence and learn about their tailored MSME packages. We Manage Trust, the data protection experts. Give them a call at 876-339-5982. That's 876-339-5982. Call them today.
Some dreamers picture a place they call home, a house with no mortgage, a home that they own. Some dream of owning their very own store, meet a cafe or florist, or growing one into more. Where one dreams of making luxury shopping the norm, others dream of sports cars, the kind that perform. But one thing in common these dreamers all need is to build their wealth so they can achieve.
Never settle for less than your dreams with Sagicor Investments. Call 888-SAGICOR to speak with a wealth advisor.
For better medication management, use RX Pack mobile app powered by Hauntons RX, the convenient pharmacy. Boost your wellness status and earn 20% in your RX Plus digital wallet for all your Hauntons Pharmacies purchases. Download the RX Pack mobile app in the App Store or the Google Play Store. It is easy, secure, and user-friendly. Call our knowledgeable staff on WhatsApp 876-RX0-RXRX and experience our brand of wellness simply delivered. That's RX Pharmacy, the convenient pharmacy, and RX Pack for better medication management. We deliver everywhere. Terms apply.
Drive Hyundai vehicles beyond your dreams with an exclusive 5.99% interest rate. Yes, shop Hyundai vehicles and get a super low 5.99% interest rate on your car loan. Plus 2 years free service, 1 year insurance, and 5 years warranty. Offer valid on all 2024 Hyundai vehicles. Drive your Hyundai with the lowest interest, 5.99%. Conditions apply.
Cover Story is brought to you by
Multilink. Roll with control. Use Multilink. Safe, fast, and accepted in more locations.
We've been a part of everyday Jamaican life for over 25 years. From paydays to birthdays, unexpected emergencies to anniversary celebrations, the supermarket checkout line, or paying a bill or taxes on time. Our fast, secure debit network provides reliable service so you can always depend on Multilink. Jamaican and proud, fast, secure, everywhere.
Good afternoon. It's 5:36 and time for the cover story. I'm Siobhan Campbell.
Good afternoon, Siobhan. Good afternoon to our listeners. I'm Ricardo Brooks.
And we'll be touching on court today. You were in court for the, I believe it was day 3 of the Vibes Cartel retrial. Day 4 of the Vibes Cartel retrial matter. The Court of Appeal has warned that it will not send the murder case involving Vibes Cartel and his 3 co-accused back for retrial unless the state can prove that all the original witnesses are available to testify. It was one of several grim declarations on what was a rough day in court for the prosecution as it opened its arguments in favor of retrying the 4 men for the 2011 murder of Clive Lizard Williams.
That's right. The acting director of public prosecutions, Claudette Thompson, faced tough questions related to the cost of a retrial, the availability of witnesses, and the risk of resubjecting the men to a prejudicial process. The acting director of public prosecutions had barely got to her feet when it became clear Thursday would be no easy day in the Court of Appeal. Claudette Thompson told the justices of the seriousness of the crime of murder and demanded an order for a retrial. Ms. Thompson pointed out that the crime was allegedly committed over an illegal gun and that the victim's body had never been found. The senior prosecutor maintained that justice must be done both ways. But Justice MacDonald Bishop wanted to know the exact cost of justice in the cartel matter. The senior jurist repeatedly pressed the prosecution as to whether the expense to the state to mount a retrial was a burden Jamaica would be prepared to bear. The acting DPP responded that the state would just have to foot the bill. Clearly unconvinced, Justice MacDonald Bishop responded, quote, "That's a novel interpretation of that factor, but I leave it alone," end quote. The judge pressed on, quote, "The law is really if one case is going to deplete our resources, time, money, human. That's what the case law says. We have to consider, do we really put our economy through that?" End quote. The acting DPP responded, quote, "I don't know if we can put a fixed cost to justice," end quote. Justice MacDonald Bishop shot back, "That's a requirement of the law," end quote. She eventually urged the acting DPP to use her time wisely. Conceding that she was not persuading the judges on the point of cost, the senior prosecutor responded, quote, "Very well, milady, I will not belabor the point," end quote. But she maintained that murder must be treated with seriousness. She told the court not to forget the murder, why it was done, and what happened after. The senior prosecutor did not fare much better when the matter of the timeline for a retrial was raised. Justice MacDonald Bishop pressed the prosecutor as to whether she agrees that a retrial date is uncertain. "Yes, my lady," responded the acting DPP. The prosecutor could only offer 2025 as her best estimate of a timeline for Cartel to be retried. Justice MacDonald Bishop declared that the Vibes Cartel case has placed a microscope on what she described as systemic problems in Jamaica's judicial system. She says those problems may come to, quote, "bite us somewhere along the way," end quote. Justice MacDonald Bishop also warned the prosecution that the Court of Appeal would not be sending the case back for a retrial unless the state can prove it has all its witnesses. Senior Deputy Director of Public Prosecutions, Jeremy Taylor, who was the lead prosecutor in the original trial, has submitted an affidavit swearing that most of the original witnesses are available. But Justice MacDonald Bishop pointed out that there was no evidence that Mr. Taylor had spoken to any of the witnesses, nor was it clear that he had been in touch with all of them. The justice pointed out that simply providing a list of witnesses to the court by itself doesn't cut it. "We can't send a case when we know that you're running down witnesses over there," said Justice MacDonald Bishop. The prosecution will continue its arguments at 9:30 Friday morning. Ricardo Brooks for Nationwide News. Yeah, I'm going to make 4 comments, Siobhan, and obviously I want to be brief because the matter is sub judice. It's before the Court of Appeal, and we still have an entire day to go before the hearing wraps. But I want to say first, I miss Paula Vanessa Llewellyn, King's Counsel. That's my first point. Yeah? I saw instances in court today where I thought the Crown was entirely too deferential. Certainly to some of the questions, I wondered whether the inquiry was proper. I'll leave it at that. And knowing, as we do well, the style of Paula Llewellyn, I don't think a lot of that would have gone down the way it did today. Yeah, but I accept that different people, different advocates have different styles. 2, I want to remind the listeners that the attorneys on both sides have also submitted written submissions, right? And a lot of times in these matters, while it may appear that, you have a rough outing at oral arguments, we must be reminded and, keep in mind that there are written submissions and that both sides have submitted those written submissions. 3, I want to point out to the listeners because I've gotten the question as to whether the other 2 justices have nothing to say. It's something I've taken note of. They don't interrupt as much as Justice MacDonald Bishop. In fact, they very rarely ask any questions. And their questions do not let on a lot in terms of what they're thinking. But you do seem to get a lot of, or an indication, I put it no stronger than an indication of what Justice MacDonald Bishop is thinking, and sometimes she outrightly tells you what she's thinking. And finally, all in all, I've been there since Monday. Isaac Buchanan and John Clark, give them their due, made very strong arguments, persuasive arguments. As you heard in the report, listeners, I don't think today was the best showing I've seen from the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions. That's not to say it's a done deal. That obviously not. And it's not to say that this necessarily means that, it's end of the road and there's not going to be a retrial. No. But if I could advise the team, I'd say a lot of work needs to be done come tomorrow. I don't think it was the best showing.
Well, I'm sure they will be huddling together, seeing what needs to be shored up, and they'll go back tomorrow with what I would consider to be a better showing.
Yeah,
and so. If Ms. Llewellyn is not sitting in the chair as it is now, doesn't mean that she's not a phone call away. Does not mean that they cannot draw on her experience.
I wondered about that and whether that would be proper, considering she's effectively, this is just my interpretation of what has happened,
she's
on a leave of absence, right? How proper that would be. But yeah, I think the prosecutors need to take, less of a differential approach.
This pantomime in court does not necessarily mean that they'll rule one way or the other.
Indeed, and that's very important because obviously, they would have, submitted reams and reams and reams of written submissions, paper. In fact, the justices consistently make that point, that you've given us so much to read, yeah? But as you heard from MacDonald Bishop, this is going to essentially be a case that it really is going to set down a marker, as to how retrials are viewed in this country. And as she said, it has taken a microscope to the judicial system in Jamaica. And it appears to me that they're going to use this case to at least try to set a lot of it right.
And one assumes, and this is final for me, that the DPP's office and along with the police will be making sure to track down every witness of the original trial at this point, and ensure that will you be available.
Based on the declaration, they'd better do that. They'd better do that, yeah? We take the break and come back with more.
Clearing personal, non-commercial shipments at the port? Avoid the wait. Request a contactless clearance through your agent today. It's more efficient. It's secure. The time by the Jamaica Customs Agency is
5:45.
Fast, friendly service? Check. Delicious chicken? Check. Get Quick Chick. Drive-through available at 29 Grand Spen Road. Great taste without the wait. The temperature by Quick Chick is...
It's 32 degrees Celsius here in Kingston, 32 out west in Montego Bay as well.
Cool loans, I'll lend you 500 grand. We buy appliances and electrons. All flexible, payment plan. Yeah, man, a hot cash. Hot. I hope to 500 grand. Yeah, man, a hot cash. $500,000 that make you rich fast. 100 grand for buy steel and black. 200 for furniture, laptop. 200 for keep birthday bash. Yeah, money loan hot. Get a cool loan to purchase all your electronics, furnitures, and appliances at coolmarket.com.
Drive Hyundai Hyundai vehicles beyond your dreams with an exclusive 5.99% interest rate. Yes, shop Hyundai Hyundai vehicles and get a super low 5.99% interest rate on your car loan. Plus 2 years free service, 1 year insurance, and 5 years warranty. Offer valid on all 2024 Hyundai Hyundai vehicles. Drive your Hyundai with the lowest interest 5.99%. Conditions apply.
Join the National Blood Transfusion Service and the Ministry of Health and Wellness on June 14 for World Blood Donor Day.
Every blood donation helps save at least 3 lives, so wear red and donate at any blood collection center island-wide.
Follow the Blood Bank and the Ministry of Health and Wellness on our social media pages at One Blood Bank JA and at the MOHWGOVJM.
World Blood Donor Day. Blood is life-giving and life-changing.
A message from the National Blood Transfusion Service, an entity of the Ministry of Health and Wellness.
It's 5:47 and we're back with the cover story, switching over to a topic that we highlighted yesterday. A Member of Parliament for South East St. Anne, Lisa Hanna, says the retention of the buggery law affects the ability of Jamaicans to seek justice under the law. Ms. Hanna raised the concern in support of her private member's motion for a redefinition of the term rape.
Let us stop dancing around the gorilla in the room. The gorilla in the room is what the church uses, which is the buggery law, which is still on our books of 1861. And the hypocrisy comes in because we have that law, which says a particular thing, but we also have a law which is called grievous sexual assault. So even if that happens to a man or a woman, whether perpetrated on a man by a man, or a little boy is abused by a woman with whatever it is, it's not considered buggery. It's considered grievous sexual assault. So we need to be apples or oranges. And I think we need to get rid of this legislative hypocrisy to recognize that whenever a young person is forced to have any kind of sex in any kind of orifice by a man or a woman, that it is rape.
That's Lisa Hanna. She is the MP for South East St. Anne, the outgoing MP. She argued in the House of Representatives on Tuesday that rape should be gender neutral. Well, to push the conversation along, we're going to be joined now by the advocacy manager at Equality for All Foundation Jamaica, Nicoy Wilson. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon,
Good afternoon.
So let's get straight into it, Mr. Wilson. You heard the statement there from Ms. Hanna. What is your opinion on the matter?
So as Equality for All Foundation, we do support Ms. Hanna's private member's motion. We support her view. It's a view as an organization that we have held for some time. You know, as we advocate for LGBT Jamaicans here, you know, we recognize that the buggery law, which is contained in our Offences Against the Person Act, that it does impact negatively on the rights of LGBT people, on the right to privacy, freedom of expression, and equality before the law, which is what would have been highlighted by Ms. Hanna. You know, in terms of the treatment of, you know, LGBT people under the law and, you know, children under the law, there's a disparity in how the law treats it with these various groups. And, you know, just a few years ago, we actually did an analysis of cases from 2016 to 2020. So we got statistics from the courts, and we got statistics from the police. And what we found was that in 80% of the cases, that's 286 of the 358 cases, reports of buggery during that period, 80% of those cases involved children as victims. And so the law needs to be redefined to have rape gender neutral, and so that LGBT people, especially gay men who are raped, that they can go to the police station and actually report that they have been victimized in this way. Currently, there's no legal framework for that to happen.
Nicoy, help our listeners, because one of the questions we've gotten here in the newsroom, and I see it posted across social media, is what is the correlation or the link between the need to amend the buggery law and the need to make rape gender neutral? What's the link?
Okay, so currently under the law, when you stand trial for rape, if you're convicted, the minimum sentence, which is similar to grievous sexual assault, is 15 years, whereas in the law, the prescribed sentence for buggery is 10. And if anyone is familiar with the court system, generally there are mitigating and aggravating factors that generally would, you know, increase or decrease the amount of time you would, you know, spend behind bars. For buggery, the maximum is 10, which means that the court cannot impose a sentence that is greater than that. Which speaks to the disparity in the sentencing and the unequal treatment of children in particular when it comes on to buggery. And so our ask is for, you know, one, clearly the constitutional reform process is happening now, so the saving law clause, which prevents us from challenging these laws on the legal principles. That's one of the things that we would want to see right now. But outside of that, we want Parliament to make amendments to the law to consider consent. So not only can LGBT people you know, be who they are without their privacy being violated, but children and women can get equal protection under the law.
Mr. Wilson, while I appreciate your stance regarding this matter of LGBT rights, when you raise that as an objection, a lot of Jamaicans have a bit of a knee-jerk reaction, as in this is some attempt to push an agenda or push something forward that a lot of Jamaicans may not be ready for. But in this immediate case of essentially making rape a gender-neutral matter. Wouldn't that transcend a simple LGBTQ issue?
It does. However, they are interrelated, and so one cannot necessarily go without the other. So if the law is to contemplate recognizing forced penetration of the anus as rape, then the Sexual Offences Act, that will have to change. And in effect, our Offences Against the Person Act would also have to change. And so they're very much related.
And to Siobhan's point, isn't that the reason why, if my memory serves me correctly, the church had quite a outsized role in ensuring that the definitions remained as they were, out of fear of how tampering with it would affect the Buggery law?
Yes, the church tends to have that stance, but, my personal view when it comes on to the church and it comes on to just addressing the societal issues that we have, is that they tend to ignore them. And this is one of the issues that they have ignored. They have ignored it in favor of keeping the law just because they believe that this is going to promulgate, LGBT life in Jamaica, when the reality is, right now, many of our children, and I will repeat, 80% of the children between 2016, or rather cases between 2016 and 2020 involve children. Mm-hmm. So the church really needs to re-examine its position and determine whether or not, right, keeping Buggery as illegal as it is, without consent being contemplated, with children being victimized in this way, if that's the position that they want to maintain as we move forward as a society,
but the
and
church,
as we think about our children.
But the church says you can protect children because you can protect them under, for example, the part of the statute that deals with grievous sexual assault. And therefore, those who abuse or harm children are able to be punished, they say.
But I also would think that the church is not only concerned about children, and that they are concerned about men who are also raped. And so,
but wouldn't that same section about grievous sexual assault also apply to grown men, adults?
Yes, and that is problematic. That is problematic because, in fact, that is negatively impacting on our various rights. And so outside of, protection of children, we have to acknowledge that we all have rights as well. And so while the argument can be made that those other laws, may, be used to protect children, under very specific circumstances, I might add, that does not mean that, all of us are protected. And
right.
So are we going to be choosing to just protect one group and ignore the rights of another group? I don't think that would be the best position to have.
I wonder, Nicole, whether the Equality for All Foundation, have you had outreach to the church? Because we put this question to Miss Hannah last evening about how we advance as a society on some of these cultural war issues, abortion, the matter of the repeal of the Buggery law. How do we advance if the church, and you cited it, has such a vested interest whenever the lawmakers sit down to review these things, their role and their voices are outsized. Have you had that conversation with them, trying a meeting of the mind, if you will? Has that happened?
All right, so we have met with members of the church previously. I will admit that in recent times, that has not necessarily been our focus, especially given.
Is that because you've given up on convincing them?
Oh no, we have not given up.
Okay.
We definitely have not given up, but we recognize that we do have to re-strategize when it comes on to how we approach the church and how we engage with the church, because of the power that the church holds in this country.
And in terms of what that engagement looks like going forward, what do you see it as?
Well, I mean, engagement usually starts, with meetings, and so meeting with church leaders is something that we have done before and that we will want to continue to do. I think one of the challenges that we face when we do meet with church leaders is the reconciliation of their religious beliefs with the rights of LGBT people and human Jamaicans generally. And I think that even with those who may be supportive, that's the sort of contemplation that they have, and whether or not just like parliamentarians, whether or not they're going to be alienating, the persons who they serve. So these are the sort of realistic situations that we're in when dealing with the church and dealing with our advocacy, with our advocacy work. We do have to, strategize and think of the best ways to approach certain issues and to, push our message forward.
Yeah.
And just finally from me, Mr. Wilson, as you note, there seems to be a gulf here between where you stand and quite the position of the church on the other side. And even then, when you look at the current constitutional reform process, there has been certain things laid out by the legal affairs minister that she believes should be sacrosanct in the new constitution in terms of a Jamaican constitution. So shouldn't we, at least in the interest of consensus, this matter of gender neutrality regarding rape, separate that issue from other greater grievances that you may have in terms of human rights, just to get that forward? Is that not possible?
Is that not possible? Possibility exists in every situation. I do think that while we acknowledge what has been said, that we still do have to do the work that we have set out to do. And we do still have to, promote human rights in the way that we are doing, especially for LGBT people who are disadvantaged. So I wouldn't necessarily want to say that we should leave it for another time. I think that is just something that we will have to just continuously work on, despite the outcome that we may expect.
Yeah. Nicoy Wilson, thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it.
Yes, thank you so much.
And I'm being reminded, Siobhan, that grievous sexual assault does not speak to penetration by the penis. Therefore, the issue would remain. Grievous sexual assault speaks to non-consensual penetration of any other object other than the penis. Therefore, if raped anally via penile penetration, it goes back to buggery. The maximum is 10 years. Perhaps we should also, Dana, try to get the church's position on whether they... okay, so they'll be on Nationwide this morning, perhaps tomorrow morning. Yeah, because it's important to hear how they see the matter of changing the definition of rape, making it gender neutral. Yeah? That's the cover story. The headlines are next.
Cover Story was brought to you by
Multilink. Roll with control. Use Multilink. Safe, fast, and accepted in more locations.
Say hello to peace of mind and goodbye to worry with Guardian Life's new Ultimate Provider Plan and secure your medical expenses in the event of critical illness today. Call 888-367-5433 for details.
The time by Guardian Life is
6:01.
Nationwide headlines at 6.
Good evening with the headlines at 6. I'm Shalois Michael. Member of Parliament for North West Manchester, Michael Phillips, says the issue of Mark Golding's British citizenship will be dealt with internally by the party.
That is being dealt with internally in the party. The party leader has given us his opinion on the citizenship issue, and it's being dealt with internally. So, one party has come to a final conclusion on it, then I'm sure it will be made public. The conversation not only dealing with the issue of the party leaders issue, but also just the whole constitution reform having to do with persons from the diaspora and persons sitting within Parliament and the role for those within the diaspora within the process of the Parliament, which includes the Senate.
Mr. Phillips, who is also a PNP Vice President, says he expects Mr. Golding to abide by the decision of the party once it has been made.
And Mr. Golding has given his commitment that based on the decision of the People's National Party after those discussions that he will abide by them.
Yes, and I take his word that he will.
Michael Phillips, MP for North West Manchester. Finance Minister Dr. Nigel Clark is reporting a significant improvement in the operations of automated banking machines (ABMs) by financial institutions across the country. This after the Bank of Jamaica issued several service standards in April. Minister Clark provided the update in the House of Representatives on Tuesday.
The report, as at the end of March, as compared to the prior period, showed that the number of ABMs in operation increased from 93% of the entire fleet in January 2024 to 97.5%. And the statistics from March as compared to January, 97.5% of ABMs were operational as opposed to 93% in January. In addition, the other headline statistic is that the licensees are to maintain at least 90% of their ABMs in operation with a minimum uptime of 95%. So for March, on average, that was achieved.
The service standards were implemented following public outcry over the poor services of ABMs island-wide. Minister Clark says the government's Twin Peaks model will come online in 2026. He is anticipating that more service level standards will be established under the model, which will be legally binding.
The laws governing the BOJ and FSC do not at the present time provide them with the legal authority to enforce such standards related to consumer protection through the imposition of fines. It is proposed that this will be addressed under the legislative changes proposed under the Twin Peaks model. In the meantime, however, the service level standards for ABMs were developed and issued to address an urgent problem through consultation. It is anticipated that standards such as these will be incorporated as legally binding regulations when the market conduct and consumer protection framework is passed into law as part of the Twin Peaks regime.
Dr. Nigel Clark, Minister of Finance and Public Service. Mayor of Kingston and St. Andrew, Andrew Swaby, says the municipal corporation is in dire need of drought mitigation funds that were announced in Parliament by Prime Minister Andrew Holness. Mayor Swaby lamented the effects of the ongoing drought on the KSAMC during a council meeting on Tuesday.
Councillors, we are once again at the time of the year when it is not only hotter than usual, but many of us have no water in our pipes due to the severe drought. Thankfully, last week we got some rain. However, it was far from enough.
Prime Minister Andrew Holness told the House of Representatives in April that $150 million would be allocated to facilitate the trucking of water. These funds would also be used to procure and distribute water tanks in affected areas. According to Mayor Swaby, the KSAMC is urgently in need of funds as the residents continue to suffer from water shortages.
The Prime Minister stated that funds have been approved and would be made available to the municipal corporations for drought mitigation. Many of our constituents continue to face current water restriction. Persons have already been asking about the measures being implemented to lessen the effects. Councillors, we are badly in need of these funds and we are anxiously awaiting them.
Andrew Swaby, Mayor of Kingston and St. Andrew. Those were the headlines at 6. I'm Shaloy Smichael. Sports is next.
Me grew up as my granny save her money under her mattress. But at an old time something. That's where I save my money in the bank. And because I want to buy a little house, I also save in a building society. We have to be smart with how we save our money.
So what if the bank crash?
Well, that's where JDIC comes in. Make I tell you something. With the JDIC Deposit Insurance Scheme, once you save your money in a commercial bank, merchant bank, or building society, your deposit is covered up to a maximum of $1.2 million per depositor per financial institution if the institution fails. All the information that you need is available at jdic.org and you can follow their social media platform for more information.
JDIC, protecting deposits for you and me.
Buy more and get more at Ashley Furniture Home Store. Purchase any 3-piece and over lounge set and get free accessories valued at $20,000. Get 15% off the purchase of any 7-piece and over dining set. Plus, buy select queen mattresses and enjoy 20% off. Upgrade to a king and enjoy 30% off. Finance your fave styles on 6 to 48 months. Buy more and get more at the Ashley Furniture Home Store. This is home. Offers end June 27. Conditions apply.
Ray and nigga, fury culture.
How much for your drink a rare rum? How much for your flask? How much for your drink a rare rum? How much for your flask? When you head to the bar, feel all our vibes and parts. Spend 15 bills, get a queue, fit the crew. Or spend $250 on a drink for you or your boo. How much for your drink a rare rum? How much for your flask? How much for your drink a rare rum? How much for your flask?
Must be 18 years older to drink. Drink responsibly.
Some dreamers picture a place they call home, a house with no mortgage, a home that they own. Some dream of owning their very own store, meet a cafe or florist, or growing one into more. Where one dreams of making luxury shopping the norm, others dream of sports cars, the kind that perform. But one thing in common these dreamers all need is to build their wealth so they can achieve.
Never settle for less than your dreams with Sagicor Investments. Call 888-SAGICOR to speak with a wealth advisor.
Good evening with your sports report. I am Alric Swaby. We kick things off with some football as head coach of Jamaica's senior men's football team, Hamir Hallgrimsson, says they have moved on from Leon Bailey's decision not to represent the country at the Copa America tournament in the United States starting next week. Bailey was originally listed in Jamaica's 26-man squad for the tournament. However, a few minutes later, the player himself took to his social media page to hint otherwise. Hallgrimsson says Bailey has the right to refuse to wear the national colours.
He decided not to want to play for Jamaica. That's his decision, and that's every player's right to refuse to play for the nation, and he opted to do that, not to play for Jamaica. End of story for me. Absolutely end of story. Now I would like just everyone to focus on those players that want to play for Jamaica and want to represent Jamaica. Let's put our focus and support to those players.
The Aston Villa Wingers representative, Craig Butler, was called by the JFF General Secretary, Dennis Chung, for a meeting on Monday. Also at that meeting was Chairman of Professional Football Jamaica Limited, Chris Williams, as mediator. At the meeting, Butler pointed out 5 areas the JFF must address before Bailey agrees to return. Among them, that Bailey gets his own personal security when he is with the national team, first-class flight, his own room, a review of the player's contract, and that Rudolph Speed be removed as head of the technical committee if he continues to be the head of Premier League champions Cavalier. Butler said he also received a call from head coach Hamir Hallgrimsson for a meeting at which he told the coach not to name Bailey in the squad until the conditions are met or before he, Butler, gets a chance to talk with the player. It was also argued that if Bailey agrees to join the squad, he would miss the first game against Mexico on June 22 because he is keeping his party on June 21 in Kingston. Hallgrimsson also explained the reason behind the inclusion of Andre Blake and Amir Bell in the squad.
We went for a 23-man squad and opted to have 3 senior players as an optional players if they would be able to join to come in from injury. So that is how we decided to do it, to select a 23-man squad and then to have a player like Andre Blake back coming from a surgery on his knee. I think it would be good for the squad if he would be in one form or another. He's a captain, he's a leader in this team, and it would be nice to have him on board, whether he is fully fit to play or not. Same I can say about Amari Bell, a very experienced, good player in the squad, so it would be nice if we could make the squad at some point. It's a long shot, but we opted to put them in the squad in case we would go all the way.
Hamir Hallgrimsson. Now on to cricket, as defending champions England ripped through and overmatched Oman in Antigua today en route to an impressive 8-wicket win in their Group B clash at the ICC T20 World Cup at North Sound Ground. The English needed just 80 balls to dispatch woeful Oman for 47 runs, led by Adil Rashid's 4 for 11 and identical 3 for 12 from Jafar Archer and Mark Wood. England then took 19 balls to get over the line with Josh Buttler making an unbeaten 24. England are now third in the group and battles Namibia in their last game, where a win could now force second-place Scotland to beat group leaders Australia on Sunday to deny the champions a spot in the Super 8s. Meanwhile, Bangladesh moved into second place in Group D thanks to a 25-run win over the Netherlands at Arnos Vale in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Shakib Al Hassan, 64 not out, and Tajind Hassan, 35, steered Bangladesh to 159 for 5 in their 20 overs. The Netherlands were restricted to 134 for 8. West Indies batsman Shafreen Rutherford has described his match-winning knock against New Zealand in Trinidad last night as the best of his career. Rutherford slammed an unbeaten 68 from 39 balls as the West Indies, from a precarious 30 for 5, went on to post 149 for 9 in their ICC T20 World Cup encounter at the Brian Lara Stadium. The Windies then restricted the Kiwis to 136 for 9 to win by 13 runs and secure a place in the Super 8. Rutherford says he's not played a better knock.
You know, it's a World Cup. You know, this is my dream. I always wanted to play World Cup. I always want to perform in World Cup, and I think, you know, this one gonna stay close to my heart, and, you know, hopefully I can continue to, you know, take out good innings like this for my team and for myself. We have our meetings about, you know, rotating strike. It's a bit difficult in this tournament, I would say, so far because of the tough wickets, but, you know, as a team, our goal is to lessen the dot balls, and I think, you know, good intent is one thing that we spoke a lot about, and, you know, you're going to see a lot of rotation from us. We're going to try our best, even though it's a tough surface, but we're going to keep trying and trying because, you know, we can only try our best, and that's, you know, our best may be enough.
Rutherford says the team is stacked with outstanding players. Anyone can produce similar heroics at any time.
Every game is important. We will always want to win every game. If we can win every game, we're going to take it. But, you know, it's good to get the Q in front of our name. It's just a part of the job. You know, our aim is to play the last game of the tournament. So, you know, we're going to look to keep improving and keep getting better. You know, we have been playing good cricket. There are good days and bad days. And, you know, one thing I learned that, you know, a team that's going to win any tournament, going to be different players stepping up on each time. And I think for the past 3 games, it has been 3 different players. So, you know, I'm not concerned because, you know, that's what, you know, champion team do. I was at the IPL and I observed a lot of things, and that was one of the key that, you know, stick with me. And, you know, it's just for us to keep building on our strength and our, you know, keep improving our game, and I think that's going to be the key for us.
Shafreen Rutherford. The Windies will close their group campaign with a crunch game against Afghanistan next Monday in St. Lucia. Now on to swimming, as team manager Melissa Lawson has high hopes for the 16 swimmers that will represent Jamaica at the CC Can Championships in Mexico from June 14 to 29. The swimmers will be competing in 4 age groups: 11 to 12, 13 to 14, 15 to 17, and 18 and over. Lawson says she's expecting something special from the older swimmers.
The swimmers will be doing extremely well. We have Kia, who did well at Carista. She's returning. We have Arush, and most of the swimmers that were on the Carista team and who did well at Carista, they're returning. And based on the stack sheet that we're seeing, we do expect to get some medals or even some records. The 15 to 17 and the 18 and over category is very strong. Those are the persons who are really trying to get a spot on the national team for Olympics, right? And then we have the 11 to 12, which includes Kai, Lawson, and Kialer. Based on the stack sheet, they're also very competitive.
Last year, Jamaica sent a team of 17 swimmers who secured 4 gold and 5 bronze. Lawson believes this team can improve on that.
I believe that we will get possibly 7 golds, probably another 5 silver. I think we can come back with about 20 medals, if anything, or more.
Melissa Lawson. Now on to NFL, as the New England Patriots are to retire Tom Brady's number 12 shirt and build a statue of their legendary former quarterback. The franchise made the announcement while inducting the 46-year-old into their Hall of Fame. After being selected by the Patriots with the 199th pick of the 2000 draft, Brady led them to 6 Super Bowl wins. Patriots owner Robert Kraft said the statue will stand alone in the plaza outside of the Hall of Fame to symbolize his position not as the greatest in franchise history, but as the greatest in all of NFL history. Brady says he's eternally grateful.
How do I sum up 2 decades in New England in one short speech? The answer is simple. You can't. It's hard for me to properly express my gratitude and my appreciation for how my time here has added to my life. There are too many lessons learned, too many stories to be told, too many incredible moments and achievements we all experienced together. It would take me 30 days to get through it all, not 30 minutes. There are so many people to thank, and I apologize in advance if I leave anybody out. So with that being said, thank you.
Brady played under former Patriots coach Bill Belichick during his time at the franchise.
To Coach Belichick, thank you for your tireless commitment to develop and push me to be my very best. It wasn't me, it wasn't you, it was us. Our hard work, our love of the game, and the way we work for one another, that's what it was all about. Let me make this crystal clear. There is no coach in the world I would rather play for than Bill Belichick.
Tom Brady left the Patriots for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in 2020 and helped them win the Super Bowl in his first season, being named the game's most valuable player for the 5th time. He retired in 2022 before reversing his decision only 6 weeks later to play a 23rd and final season in the NFL. And finally, it's now time for the Nationwide Olympic Fact, sponsored by Rainforest Caribbean.
This is Nationwide's Olympic Facts, brought to you by Rainforest Caribbean. Make delicious moments.
Did you know that the Olympic symbol was designed to include everyone? Yes, that's a fact. The Olympic rings was first produced in 1913 from a design created by the Games' modern founder, Baron Pierre de Coubertin. Their 5 colors reflect colors found on the flags of all participating nations, so everyone is represented. The overlaps also represent international cooperation and the coming together of athletes from all over the world.
That was Nationwide's Olympic Facts, brought to you by Rainforest Caribbean. Make delicious moments.
Okay, that was Nationwide's Olympic Fact, sponsored by Rainforest Caribbean. I'm Alex Swiby, and that's your sports.
For all your scales and food processing equipment, call Advanced Scales and Equipment Limited at 876-968-9612 to 5. The time by Advanced Scales and Equipment Limited is
6:20.
My Mega With so much to do in one location, make Megamart your one-stop shop. Pick up your groceries and houseware needs, grab a bite and pay some bills, fill your prescriptions and see the beauty products in our pharmacy. All in one amazing location. My Megamart, the best value by far.
We've been a part of everyday Jamaican life for over 25 years. From paydays to birthdays, unexpected emergencies to anniversary celebrations, the supermarket checkout line, or paying a bill or taxes on time. Our fast, secure debit network provides reliable service so you can always depend on Multilink. Jamaican and proud, fast, secure, everywhere.
Super Center, everything for your home and more.
And we mean everything, not just houseware and appliances. At Zan Super Center, we have furniture too. Furniture for your living room, dining room, bedroom, kitchen, and more. Low on cash? At Zan Super Center, we have layaway plans. Don't delay. Come in today.
Zan Super Center, we're gonna make you smile. Zan Super Center, it's a lifestyle.
It's a lifestyle.
The Development Bank of Jamaica wants to see more businesses, more job creation, and better opportunities for people across Jamaica. That's why, since day one, we've been dedicated to facilitating economic growth and development across all sectors, while providing funding and technical assistance to MSMEs, projects, and other businesses through our strong partnerships. Because helping to build better businesses helps to build a better Jamaican economy for everyone. Visit us at dbankjm.com for more info. DBJ, the business builder.
Public Opinion is brought to you by Cleasing Industrial Supplies Limited, Industrial Automation and Control Solutions.
Good evening and welcome to Public Opinion. I'm Mahiri Stewart. Special good evening to our friends on YouTube. Feel free to voice your opinion in our live comment section below to the side. Where is the YouTube? I don't remember where the chat is, but let's begin, let's talk. So, Jamaica's preparations for the Copa America got off to a pretty farcical start after winger Leon Bailey ruled himself out of participation at the tournament minutes after being named in the Reggae Boys squad. In a cryptic post on Instagram minutes after he was named in the squad, the Aston Villa winger appears to have dismissed the notion of his involvement in the competition. Misleading information, said Bailey. Bailey was suspended by coach Himir Hallgrimsson for breaking curfew after a Nations League game against Canada in Jamaica in November last year. And Bailey was scathing in his criticism of the Jamaica Football Federation, JFF, while speaking on a podcast recently. And on the same podcast, Bailey had announced that he wouldn't be representing Jamaica for the foreseeable future. So naturally, in Public Opinion, we ask you, the public, what should the JFF do about the Leon Bailey situation?
Depending on how them plan for approaching, because I saw an interview with Leon Bailey at the time when he must say how them did that deal with him when them did that play for Jamaica at the time. They never did that deal with him good to how the interview was going, so probably them have to apologize to him first about how them deal with him and then see how we go from there.
I think we Jamaicans are sick and tired of this Leon Bailey saga. I think Leon Bailey do not need Jamaica, and I don't think Jamaica need Leon Bailey. So we can go separate ways. We're sick and tired to hear about this Leon Bailey and Craig Butler saga. Tired of that, too much of that, enough of that now. Leon Bailey go him ways, and we go our ways with our football. I will move on. Whole Leon Bailey come, whole Leon Bailey goes. Move on, leave Leon Bailey, man. Too much of Leon Bailey now. Tired to hear him name now. It starts to annoy me to hear this one person every minute. Leon Bailey, who is Leon Bailey? Leon Bailey is not God. Him not do nothing for Jamaica. Him do it for Aston Villa. Him don't do it for Jamaica. So I could move on and leave Leon Bailey out of it.
All right, folks, there you have it. Those were two of our answers that we got. But let's see what Instagram is saying. So we brought the question to Instagram. Wealthy U101 says, simply leave him out the squad and never call him back. If it were any other nation like England or Germany, they'd drop him like a bad habit. Kimmy R. Johnson says, use who you have on a one-man play football. Hotter Fire Promotion says, forget Leon Bailey and move on. Simple. 876 Shella says, don't call him back ever again. All right, let's see what we had. Madridista Carter. That's a Madrid fan, I believe. Leave him alone. Not that he has contributed much anyways when he was at Leverkusen. There weren't any issues before. Villa got Champions League and him act like him win World Cup. Even when PSG did want to ostracize Mbappe from playing last season, him never behave half the way Bailey behave. And Mbappe is a world-class baller. Alright. Will Ryan Wilson says they should leave him alone. He thinks he's bigger than the team. We have a lot of talent in Jamaica to replace him. Nomeds says no baller is bigger than our club. Oh, no baller is bigger than club or country. Forget about Leon as he's a package deal with Craig being bitter. And tell him keep the same energy when the thing takes off the right way. Smithus Dunn says rate who rate we. Alright, Danger Was says, forget him. A lot of people saying forget Leon Bailey. I'm going through the comments trying to get like a summary of what people are saying, and I'm seeing ignore Lord Bailey. Another person says leave him alone, simple as that. right? Nothing work with the team that you have. What else do we have here? All right, man. Okay, so I think we're gonna leave it there for Instagram for the time being. We can switch over to Facebook now. What are you gonna do about the Leon Bailey situation? Is there even a Leon Bailey situation? You know what I'm saying? Do you try and get him back on the squad? Do you try and patch up the relationship? Or do you just accept that it's over and you just move on? Yeah? Let's see what happens. Let's see what Facebook is saying. Andrew Frater says nobody is indispensable. He came here to make a World Cup team, but he wants it on his term. Teams sometimes play better without the so-called stars. All right. Steve Bennett says just leave him out until he wants to play. He's not bigger than the JFF. Sansia Campbell says, I heard a comment a long time ago. Never allow someone to tell you they don't want you more than once. If I were JFF, he would not get a chance to snub me again. Michelle Bernard says, is what him do again. Oh, boy. Edney Powell says, leave Leon Bailey alone. The man has no loyalty to Jamaica. Sadio Mane made school and hospital. Judge if this man did have, what? Made a hut for Jamaica. We'd sleep outside. Oh, dear. Harsh words from Edney Powell. Clifton Russell says, give Butler a job on the coaching staff. Philip Jackson says, let the chips fall where they may have the answer to the questions. Ask, they are inside looking out, and we are outside looking in. Paul Stewart says, obviously we have not learned our lesson re the Walter Boyd and company experience in the past, so we are going through it again. All right, Othniel Blair says, leave him alone. The national team is bigger than any player regardless of their talent and status. Players come and players go. And Rosalind Buck says, JFF, spineless bunch. Let's go over to X, formerly known as Twitter. Let's get the final roundup before we check the YouTubers to see what they have to say. And I hope you guys are actually discussing this in the comments and not talking about something else, you know, because it's hard sometimes, yeah? Okay. So I'm having a bit of technical... Oh, okay. Hold on a minute. Having technical difficulties with X. But yeah, man, what do we do? Is there anything to do, yeah? How do you mend this situation? Do you even mend this situation? Is it worth mending, yeah? We have 23 comments and 5 quotes on our X platform. And here comes somebody, German8761 says, he's on international break, right? Let him stay there. Why are y'all behaving as if he's the best thing out of Jamaica? Let him and agent stay out of Jamaica's football. Firelord says, the show must go on, so if him no want play, leave him be. All right, what else we have here? Garnacho, ex-Ahmad FC, says, I personally believe we should close the chapter on Leon Bailey. His camp is too toxic, and they always want other players to be in the camp with him. Those are all the ones I can read. Let's go into the comments. DJ says, move on from him. He's not bigger than the country. He doesn't perform in the national colors in the first place. He needs special treatment apart from everyone as if he's above everyone. We don't miss him. Calm and Easy says, if all his requirements can't be met, change what can be changed for the better of those who are in a similar position to attract other players of his caliber. Enough a comment with their emotions. Blazing Fire says, football is not an individual game like boxing, tennis, etc. So the JFF should just leave Leon Bailey alone and get on with the program. There are good players here who might even be better than Bailey. I'm going to read one more. Shauna, Plant-Based Lifestyle, says, move on. This is not fair to the other players. He doesn't perform when he plays for Jamaica. The Jamaica team is more recognized than him. YouTubers, you are up. Let's see what you guys have to say about Leon Bailey. Are you pro Leon Bailey or are you anti Leon Bailey? Do you want Leon Bailey to play for Jamaica or do you not really care? Does it not matter to you whether he plays or whether he doesn't play? Let's see what the YouTubers are saying. Smoky Blacks, you're the first comment I see. You say forget Leon Bailey with many exclamation points after forget Leon Bailey. All right. So his comment is quite strong. Steve says this boy should never play for Jamaica again. Yeah? Kingsley Graham says, enough youth here won't play. He missed too much. All right. Brian Thomas says, Bailey is no Walter Boyd, but it would be good to have him in the team. All right. What's going on here? What else can I? Okay, here we go. Leroy, you know I can't read that, man. You know I can't read that, Leroy. Why would you say that? But the sentiments are understood. Leroy does not seem to be pro Leon Bailey or pro Craig Butler. But I'm afraid I can't read that one, Leroy. Akeem Pollack says, just move on without him. Yeah? Just move on without him. Donna Llewellyn says Leon has too much trauma and drama. Time for Tekwe himself or Jamaica for just drop him for good. On a one-man play football, it's a team. Custis Brown says, leg of the boy. Jacqueline Thomas says, what did he do? Jacqueline, you're gonna have to rewind the stream to find that out because the time is gonna take me to explain it. We don't got that much left. But yeah, man, once you get filled in, you can comment in public opinion afterwards, man. But yeah. What else we have here? Brethren, Leon Bailey. Gwe in 98 we make World Cup without Walter Boyd. There we go. All right, so it seems as though we have an anti-Leon Bailey comment section in all 4 of the places that we checked today: YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and X. So that's public opinion, folks. Thanks as always for tuning in. But worry not, because the business report is coming right up.
Public Opinion was brought to you by Cleasing Industrial Supplies Limited, industrial automation and control solutions.
Drive the most exciting new vehicles in Jamaica. Schedule your 2024 Ford Ranger pickup or Ford Everest 7-seater SUV test drive now. Call or visit KIG today.
The time by KIG is
6:34.
Don't let poor vision hold your children back. IQ Optical gives complimentary standard reflection-free lenses to children and teachers until May 31. Conditions apply.
The temperature by IQ Optical is
30 degrees Celsius in Kingston, 31 degrees Celsius in Montego Bay. Hello, good evening, and welcome to Nationwide's Business Report. I'm Mahiri Stewart. NCB Financial Group Limited, NCBFG, has announced that it has entered a share purchase agreement with Cornerstone Financial Holdings Limited for the sale of 30.20% of its stake in Clarion Group Limited. Following the proposed divestment, NCBFG will retain a 19.9% interest in Clarion Group. CEO of NCBFG, Robert Almeida, says NCB Financial Group Limited's decision to sell its controlling interest in Clarion Group is a strategic move aligned with our ongoing efforts to reallocate capital effectively. Completion of the transaction between NCBFG and Cornerstone is subject to conditions, including the requisite regulatory approvals. Once complete, NCBFG will provide transition support to Cornerstone through its subsidiaries. NCBFG says the reduced ownership interest in the Clarion Group will not have a material impact on the future earnings or the asset base of NCBFG after the completion of the sale. And internationally, Tesla shareholders have backed a record-breaking pay package for boss Elon Musk and approved a plan to move the firm's legal headquarters to Texas. The results are a victory for the billionaire who had campaigned fiercely for the payout, which is worth up to $56 billion. The exact amount depends on Tesla's share price. The eye-popping sum had sparked criticism and raised concerns that the board of the company was too submissive and close to Mr. Musk. A judge in Delaware voided the package earlier this year, siding with a small investor who had sued over the deal. The fight over the plan had aired concerns about Mr. Musk's leadership at a time when the firm's share price has fallen from its height, and its position in the electric car industry is under pressure. But Mr. Musk rallied his fan base in support of the deal, appealing particularly to individual investors who make up an unusually large portion of the firm's shareholder base. And finally, the currency markets. At the close of trading today, it cost 156 Jamaican dollars and 35 cents to buy $1. It cost 199 Jamaican dollars and 23 cents to buy £1 and 114 Jamaican dollars and 53 cents to buy the Canadian dollar. That's the business report. I'm Mahiri Stewart. Good evening.
Touching lives every day, so many different ways, a part of all you do. Sagicor will make you feel secure, reaching out for more, will always see you through. Reach for more, whatever you're dreaming, whatever your goals, will help you achieve them. You're never alone, taking care of today's needs, take care of tomorrow's dreams, every day helping you succeed. That's what Sagicor means. Today's needs, tomorrow's dreams. Sagicor.
Outperform, outlast. With top performance. Chakama. Reliable, full stop, not comma. We have the expertise for drilling and demolition. We have the power tools for plumbers and electrician. Fancy select tools, 3 parts and 3 repairs. 3 parts, 3 repairs. 2 to 3 years. Hilton, available at Delta Supply, 106 Hagley Park Road. Call us at 876-302-6111-4. Delta Supply, we service what we sell.
This Father's Day, escape to the Pamper Temple for ultimate relaxation. Adam and Eve Day Spa. All treatments are infused to melt your tension and remove stress. Pamper Dad with a massage, facial, body treatment, and mani-pedi. Unwind at Adam and Eve and enjoy complimentary Pure Country juices and Johnny Walker. But now at www.adamandevedayspaja.com. Purchase gift certificates. Call 876-754-6017 or WhatsApp 876-567-2142 for details. Does your organization need help to achieve compliance with the Data Protection Act? Contact We Manage Trust today at 876-339-5982 or email info@wemanagetrust.com. Let their team help you to achieve compliance with confidence and learn about their tailored MSME packages. We Manage Trust, the data protection experts. Give them a call at 876-339-5982. That's 876-339-5982. Call them today.
To seize opportunities on your business horizon, you need tailored financing solutions from a partner that takes the time to understand your business. Sagicor Investments. We offer mid-sized to large corporations the debt and equity financing solutions they need to drive growth. Backed by the strength of Sagicor Group, one of the largest financial conglomerates in the region, you can be confident that we will deliver. Make your business move with Sagicor Investments. Contact our capital markets unit at 888-SAGICOR.
Nation's Business is brought to you by BH Paints. Paint it, love it with BH Paints.
6:40. Welcome back, listeners, viewers. As we go into the nation's business, we're talking about poverty and violence. Lead researcher at the Caribbean Policy Research Institute, Capri Alexander Coswell, says there's no correlation between poverty and violence. He was speaking at a recent Capri event titled Groundwork for Peace, Reorienting ZOSOs for Sustained Violence Reduction.
We have enough research on violence in Jamaica and in other countries around the world to know that there is no causal link between poverty or lack of education or lack of employment opportunities and high levels of violence. But the overarching problem is that this approach does not give enough credit to the political and environmental advantages that gangs have in informal communities. These communities are often comprised of extended family networks that have lived in the same spot for generations. That creates a natural loyalty out of kinship. The gang members are their brothers, their cousins, their fathers, their uncles. Moreover, that loyalty is often reinforced with a level of terror and intimidation that the state cannot match and should not match.
That's Alexander Coswell. He says the formalization of communities might have a better outcome than the use of aggressive anti-gang operations.
Successful counterinsurgencies do not win by winning hearts and minds. They succeed by bringing order to undergoverned spaces. What that means in the Jamaican context is actually simple, conceptually simple. How do you bring order to an informal community? You formalize it. What that means in practice is that security forces have to continue their aggressive anti-gang operations, which is yielding success in the short term. And as we can see, violence has taken a slight dip. But the security operations are also useful for creating a safe environment for civilian contractors and state agencies to do the real work of mitigating the problem.
Alexander Coswell, he's the lead researcher at Capri. Well, joining us to discuss this further is the security expert, Professor Anthony Clayton, and Managing Director for the Jamaica Social Investment Fund, Omar Sweeney. Good evening, gentlemen.
Good evening, Ricardo. Good evening, Omar.
This is Siobhan, actually. It's not Ricardo. Good evening.
Oh, I do beg your pardon.
Are you there, Mr. Sweeney?
Yes, I am. Good afternoon. Good afternoon to your listeners.
Good evening. Let me start with you, Professor Anthony Clayton. I mean, have we been going about this wrong this entire time? Because I think the standard thinking, at least the predominant thinking, was always that the social interventions are needed because of that causal link between crime and violence and the lack of education and poverty. This is quite news to me that it is apparently there's no such link.
Well, we've known for a long time that there is no direct causal link between poverty and crime. But there is an overlap. And the overlap has to be understood in terms of all of the other factors that cluster together. So where you have poverty, you tend to also have poor education, lack of access to any kind of positive role models, broken families, very few employment opportunities, and something that is a strong predictor of crime is very high levels of inequality and a sense of lack of fairness. Where you have, for example, people who flout the law with impunity, people who are making money as scammers, or in some cases maybe as venal politicians, and appear to be above the law. And then you do get a strong sense of moral breakdown in society. Once the government in particular has foregone its moral authority, then you do tend to get much higher levels of crime.
Interesting.
So it's not just poverty, but poverty overlaps with some of these other factors.
So let's look at that then. If there is an overlap between poverty and the other factors, essentially, if not necessarily a causal link, then is Mr. Coswell right that the solution then is a formalization of these communities rather than the increased social interventions that are often touted about?
Normalization of these communities, and that includes the regularization of these communities, is a part, but only a part of the process that has to take place. But it is also true that most of the money that we've spent on social interventions has not worked. Capri did an earlier study, a very good study, looking at the relationship between investments in social programs and the associated reduction in levels of violence. And there was no discernible levels of correlation. In fact, what we have known is that spending on social programs, which has been running 40% of the budget of our Ministry of Education, one of our big spending ministries, has coincided with a rise in the level of crime. So the reason we had to unpick this and figure out what was going on. And what it appears is that we have compounded good projects, good social projects, and bad ones. And there are many bad ones, including a lot of the programs which have, where, for example, the Member of Parliament spends a bit of money around their constituency. there's very little evidence that these have any beneficial effect in terms of reducing the level of crime and violence. So what we really need to do is defund the programs that are not working. And then we can reallocate funding to programs and interventions that actually do appear to be working. That way we could actually get some genuine effect for the taxpayers' dollars that we're investing in these programs.
Okay, we're up on a break, gentlemen. I'll come back to you, Mr. Sweeney, right after this.
Chewy flavor with delight. It really, really nice. May I say it twice?
The time by Jamaica Mountain Peak Golden Turmeric Latte is
6:47. Welcome back, listeners, viewers, as we touch on this topic of crime and violence and the intersection with poverty. We have with us the security expert, Professor Anthony Clayton, and Managing Director for the Jamaica Social Investment Fund, Omar Sweeney. So, Mr. Sweeney, you've seen it. You've been on the ground. You're the Managing Director of JASIS, so you're no stranger to the utilization of social interventions as a means of fighting this issue of violence and crime. Have you found that those investments work, and do you find issue with what Mr. Coswell has suggested?
Well, let me start by saying that in supporting the point of our understanding being that there is really no causal connection between crime and poverty. And I say it in the context that there are many communities, in fact, most communities that we work in that are essentially crime-free in terms of being poor communities. And so we don't operate on that basis in any circumstance. Now, as Professor Clayton is saying, there is an overlap in some communities where poverty and crime intersect. And in that instance, our practice is what's known internationally as crime prevention through environmental design, or CEPTED. And it puts a lot of focus on the physical environment and conditions that persons have to live under. Now, in saying that, there is a lot of studies, there's a lot of research and practice, best practices with respect to social interventions that we could articulate. But more than anything else, we have to consider in any situation where you sort of have a hemorrhaging or a dire need or a necessity to act to bring particular services, that has to be done first before one can really set out on a medium to long term objectives. And in saying so, what I mean is, in many instances, if, for instance, persons are in need of particular social services, particular social interventions to deal with unattached youth, to deal with situations, health situations, or to deal with truancy, there are interventions that have to be put in place to ensure that you have an immediate response, and the government has a responsibility to ensure that immediate response comes. And so, yes, in the medium to long term studies of a lot of what has been done, we have received suboptimal results, and I think the discussion that is on the table now is how do we really streamline, pick the ones that are good, and we are able to, build on those, and maybe, not continue some of the other ones or approaches that we know are not working. And so that's a topical discussion. And so, with respect to the overall study, we're still looking at the study. Certainly, the study is big on land tenure and land regularization, which we support. But more than anything else, what we support is ensuring that government services, social services exist in each and every community.
And that's where I would like to take it, Mr. Sweeney. This suggestion by Mr. Coswell, as you said, is that he's suggesting that we deprioritize many of these social interventions and focus on land titling and infrastructure developments in many of these communities where crime and violence tends to be rampant. How do we now approach that issue in terms of formalizing many of these communities, giving the people titles, and how would that in its effect help to reduce the levels of violence?
No, well, I could not support a position like that. I mean, the reality is that we have to consider that if children are in school and they need remedial programs to get better educational outcomes, I could not support a position that says defund that for land titling. What we have to do is to be able to do both. You know, we must continue these programs that give remedial education, provide health services, provide birth certificate and civil registrations. We must continue to do these things because there is a deficit and persons need to be brought into the formal economy. Persons have a right to particular education and health outcomes. And so I don't particularly like to refer to these things as social interventions because these are necessary social services that should be provided in any country by any government, and that's what should be done. So I would not support the position to say that we should defund or we should not be doing these things. What we should be doing is making them mainstream within our ministries, departments, and agencies to ensure that they're sustained and that they are carried out on a particular schedule, yes. However, I choosing one over the other is not really a position that I could stand with.
But let me put it to you, Professor Clayton. One can appreciate that budgetary constraints might require sacrifices in some instances. So would you suggest that there needs to be a balance found, or do you think, as Coswell has suggested, we deprioritize certain areas in order to pick up in others, such as land titling and infrastructure development?
No, I agree entirely with what Mr. Sweeney just said. Land titling is important, but it is not the first priority. And things like interventions to address things like child abuse are actually infinitely more urgent because they're the problems that lead directly to children being unable to perform in school, to dropping out, and to ending up in gangs. If you want to think about how to best manage your budget, you prioritize those investments that do the most as quickly as possible to reduce the level of violence. So I don't agree with Mr. Coswell's proposal that we should take everything else off the table and just look at land titling. It has a role to play, but it is not first and foremost. If you look at programs which have worked elsewhere, such as in Brazil, land titling came later, and it did play an important role in helping to recruit the community to the side of good. But the first priority was to dislodge the gangs and to intervene with the children. Then, a year or so later, once that was in hand, then you could start to think about titling.
And I believe that was one of the examples that Mr. Coswell had raised during the Capri study was Brazil. And he said that the ultimate conversation was how effectively do you utilize the zones of special operations. And he said that the clear and hold aspect of it was not the problem, but it was more where do we go afterwards. And I suppose that is where views tend to diverge. But
well, not really, because the clear and hold is only first steps 1 and 2 in a 3-part program. It's clear, hold, and build.
Yes.
And the only point of doing clear and hold is to enable you to build. So that's the stage where you go in and you fix the schools, and you fix the clinics, and you fix the streets, and eventually you fix the titling. You can't get there if you don't control the neighborhood.
But I would love to hear you on this, Professor Clayton. How do you dissuade a, say, 17, 18-year-old from joining a gang when he believes that in terms of prospects for monetary gain, that will be far more profitable than, say, going to a BPO sector or learning a trade, when he looks at the actual value of that versus essentially getting enough to buy what he needs and wants right away?
Siobhan, the truth is, by the time you got to 17, 18 years old, the chances of success with an intervention are very low. They're not zero, but no, they're very low. You have to start your intervention with children before the age of 5. By the time you get to 17, 18, for most cases, it's too late for an effective intervention.
So at a much earlier age, you would require that targeting?
Absolutely.
And Mr. Sweeney, what would you say on that in terms of at what age does one begin to steer Jamaican youth away from that path of gang violence?
Well, the way I'd answer the question is to say that when a youth leaves grade 6 or grade 7 and they're not at a necessary reading level or the adequate reading level, and they enter secondary school system and they're behind, they're more apt to drop out because they're not performing at the level, they're not passing the exams. And so when they get to 17, the option of, say, either matriculating into a good-paying job or tertiary institution is almost nil. And so what happens is that you present by that outcome the gangs. Okay? I am prepared to say if you had the reverse of that, at an early age, they were given all the intervention and tools to ensure that they would matriculate at 17 years old into a job or a tertiary institution where they could see their way into a career, they would choose that path over the gang. Not every single one, but most would choose that path. And so that's is where I would say, as Professor Clayton did, is that the intervention has to start from early and it has to be sustained, not just at the schoolyard, but in the communities. And that's why communities have to also be structured in a way where the services are there to ensure the outcomes for good human capital development.
Okay. And finally, Professor Clayton, as you have pointed out, and as Mr. Coswell has pointed out as well, there is this almost built-in, I want to say, reliance that many communities have on gang members, because those gang members are also members of that community. They've lived with the community members, grown up in the community. They, in some instances, support and provide for that community. How does the state now go in and build that separation between those gang members and the community that essentially benefits from them?
You think about how that situation comes to be. And it's almost invariably where the state has not provided normal social services. There's no proper roads, no proper street lighting, the schools are bad, the access to medical facilities is poor, and it's because of the fact that the state has abandoned these communities that you create this need and this dependence on the gangs. So a huge part of the solution is that the state has to come back in to play a role.
So then essentially, do you feel that there's no adjustment needed to how the zones of special operations are currently utilized? Do you feel there's no need to tighten them or make some adjustments as to the process by which they pursue the build phase of their mandates?
No, I think the whole program needs to be adjusted from one end to the other. The idea of clear, hold, and build is actually pretty good and relevant. It was never properly applied. If you look at how these programs work in other countries, initially the police go in with military support. They're only there for six weeks. After that, they hand over to police officers trained in community policing. And they don't go in on a kind of a 90-day program that has to be renewed. They go in and they say, we're here indefinitely. If it takes 25 years, we're here for 25 years. You don't time limit it. And this is the other thing that we did not get right. You have the build phase ready to go before you start the clear and hold. So as soon as you have control of the situation, the build phase can start. You need to have that momentum and tip the balance away from the gangs.
Very well. Thank you so much, security expert Professor Anthony Clayton and Managing Director for the Jamaica Social Investment Fund, Omar Sweeney. Thank you both for your time, gentlemen.
All right. Thank you so much, Siobhan.
Have a good evening. More after this.
Nation's Business was brought to you by BH Paints. Paint it, love it with BH Paints.
The mission of the Ministry of Legal and Constitutional Affairs includes revising Jamaica's legal and constitutional infrastructure and accelerating the pace of reform. The time by the MLCA is
7:03.
Sir Optimist International Jamaica Kingston presents Classics in June 2024, Sunday, June 16 at the Huey Chapel, starting at 5 p.m. Artists include Stephen Woodham, Yuko Aoki, and Rafael Salazar. Cost $3,500. Tickets available at Music Mart and all Monarch Pharmacy locations. Sponsors include Chase Fund, Kingston Freeport Terminal, Nationwide News Network, VM Group, and Vinci Construction.
With so much to do in one location, make Megamart your one-stop shop. Pick up your groceries and houseware needs, grab a bite and pay some bills, fill your prescriptions and see the beauty products in our pharmacy. All in one amazing location. My Megamart, the best value by far.
Some dreamers picture a place they call home, a house with no mortgage, a home that they own. Some dream of owning their very own store, meet a cafe or florist, or growing one into more. Where one dreams of making luxury shopping the norm, others dream of sports cars, the kind that perform. But one thing in common these dreamers all need is to build their wealth so they can achieve.
Never settle for less than your dreams with Sagicor Investments. Call 888-SAGICOR to speak with a wealth advisor.
We are the best at what we do. At Hose Assembly and Supply Limited, we supply hose fittings and tools. We guarantee we can't be beaten when price and quality are combined. You brand us the Hose and Tool Boss because we deliver the most effective industrial solutions. Come in and experience the joy of shopping with Hose Assembly and Supply Limited. Call us 876-923-3936 or visit 173 Hagley Park Road, 2 Charles Birth Crescent or Montego Bay Trade Center. Hose Assembly and Supply Limited. More than just hoses. Now open every Sunday.
After months of preparation, Jamaica's top athletes clash at the J3A Puma National Senior and Junior Championships. June 27 to 30. 4 days of intense action will determine who's ready for the Summer Olympics in Paris. Tickets are available at Jamaica Pegasus, National Stadium Ticket Office, and MysticOnlineTix.com. Season ticket finish line, 8,000. Season tickets regular grandstand, 6,500. Daily tickets range from 1,000 to 3,500. Tickets go on sale at the Pegasus and the Stadium Ticket Office. Monday, June 24, 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. The J3A Puma National Senior and Junior Championships, June 27 to 30 at the National Stadium. It will be sensational.
Thank you so much for staying with us here on Nationwide at 5. It's 6 minutes after 7. We're turning our attention now to the UTEC Students Union Teach the Youth Summer School program. The University of Technology's Students Union will be launching its annual Teach the Youth Summer program on June 21 this year. It's being held under the theme Empower to Inspire, Nurturing Tomorrow's Leaders. Students aged 5 to 18 from the communities of Augustown, Tavern, Kintyre, Sandy Park, and Highlight View will benefit from academic lessons. They'll also benefit from lessons in personal development and conflict resolution. The program has been active for over 2 decades and has benefited over 500 students annually from the 5 communities. The president of the UTEX Students Union, Rick Darby, and the director of community service, Moyan Reed, join us now to tell us about the Teach the Youth 2024. Lady, gentlemen, welcome to Nationwide at 5.
Good evening and thank you for having us.
Hello, good night. Thank you for having me.
All right, let me start with you, Rick. Tell us some more about the background of the Teach the Youth summer program. How did it come about?
So this program was initiated in 1999 actually, where they just thought about the different communities that were impacted by us being in the space. So they usually just go into these communities and teach these youngsters as well as offer them some nutritious meals throughout the day during the summer period. So just to keep them occupied while school was out. And it's been something that we've continued over the years as a tradition and realized that we have a positive impact on these communities, and it's our social responsibility as a university to impart the knowledge that we learn on these youngsters around us.
Mm-hmm. And is it free to the young people?
It actually is. So they just register and they come with us. It's a 2-week journey in terms of them for learning. They get free food on the days, and then we have a grand sports day on the final day where all these communities come together and compete at UTEX. And just build a sense of community between all of these communities.
Mm-hmm. And Moyan Reed, why were these communities in particular chosen?
These communities were selected particularly because they are within the surrounding areas of the university. So we're saying, why are we here if we are not making any sort of impact within them?
Mm-hmm. And so it's just really because of proximity to the campus?
Right.
Right. And what motivated your choice of the theme, Empower to Inspire, Nurturing Tomorrow's Leaders?
This would be because we would have been reflecting on the overall theme for the university last year, which had a similar connotation. And we were saying that really when we go into these communities, we want to empower these children, we want to inspire them and show them that there is more to what they've been exposed to, giving them a different route in life. So that all of that really came together to create this year's theme.
And who are the teachers, who are the facilitators at the summer program?
Could you repeat that for me, please?
Who are the facilitators? Who are the teachers who deliver the lessons for the program?
So the teachers are volunteers from UTEX, counselors from the UTEX Students Union, as well as we partner with the Hyatt NSCA Trust, where we get workers from them, and all of us come together and teach the students.
Oh, nice. And Rick, what are they taught exactly? What are some of the things that they'll benefit from at the program?
Some of the things that they benefit from are math, English, HFLE. We have some sessions about restorative justice, home and family, HFLE, yes, and sports, as well as arts and culture. And this year we have a new partner coming on board. So it was a recent Prime Minister Youth Awardee winner in terms of media. So he's coming to teach them more about media. So that's news media design.
Mm-hmm. And how does a child who may live in one of these communities who may be interested, how do they go about signing up?
So we actually go into the communities for them to register. So we have our walks and we leave some registration forms as well within the community so they can pop up at the centers and register, as well as when we're doing our walks, we'll see them.
Yeah, and so obviously this must be a significant undertaking. I think I saw 500 children per year. Apart from UTEC, who are some of your other sponsors and partners who help to execute this?
Our major partner would be Harch in terms of providing us with the volunteers. We're currently in the process of reaching out to different sponsors to get some food items. So any sponsor that's willing to come on board, as it stands, we have Reggae Jamming as one of our partners who is on board, and Brunswick. They have come on board to be sponsors in terms of donating food items.
Mm-hmm. And Moyan, in terms of the success stories coming out of this program, I think Rick said it's been around since 1999. What are some of the most memorable success stories?
Some of the most memorable success stories that I've heard is really just students coming to us when they would even see us within the Papillon area when we're just walking to the supermarket. They would have really come to us and say, that this program would have really helped them, and they're just doing a bit better, even in regards to just their emotional standing or just how they view life. That would be probably the main memorable thing that I would have heard.
Right. It's had an impact on their personal development.
Right.
Right. And Rick, if there's anyone listening who may want to volunteer, are you taking volunteers, and how do they reach out to assist?
Yes, definitely. So they can reach out to us on Instagram at UTEC Students Union. They can also call 876-770-3538 or email us at info@utexstudentsunion.com.
Mm. And this is Rick Darby, the youth parliamentarian?
Yes, it is.
Ah, okay. All right. Well, all the best with the UTEC Students Union Teach the Youth Summer School program. Listeners, it starts on June 21 and it runs for 2 weeks, you say?
Yes, so we will start officially teaching from June 18th to the 26th.
Okay. It's being held, listeners, under the theme Empower to Inspire, Nurturing Tomorrow's Leaders, yeah? Students age 5 to 18 from the communities of Augustown, Tavern, Kintyre, Sandy Park, and Highlight View. They'll benefit from academic lessons as well as lessons in personal development and conflict resolution. And just again, Rick, if anyone wants to reach out to assist, to partner with you, to volunteer, how do they reach you?
They can reach out on Instagram at UTEC Students Union. They can also reach out via telephone at 876-770-3538 and via email at info@utexstudentsunion.com.
All right. That's Rick Darby, the president of the University of Technology Students Union. We're also joined by Moyan Reid, who is the director of community service at the Students Union. Thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having us.
Not a problem. Have a good one. It's 14 minutes after 7. After the break, we'll take your calls. The numbers 630-937-124, 618-8255.
This outstanding 6'4" athlete credits Jamaica with her first Olympic victory ever.
Jamaica is filled with Olympians.
World record holder McKinley dashes into the lead.
We must never forget the forerunners of Jamaican Olympic greatness.
Coming into the home stretch, it's Wint who challenges the leader.
Win or lose, athletes never forget their Olympic experience.
Fairly not Ian, devastated, another world-class field. And Hemmings is going to do it. Hemmings wins it, she's the champion.
Win or lose, Jamaicans will cheer the loudest at the Olympics so that the world will never forget who we are.
And Usain Bolt is moving away, and Jamaica retained their title, and the world record has been taken apart. Oh, I say!
From July 26 to August 11, tune in only to Nationwide 90 FM for the coverage of the 2024 Paris Olympic Games, because we're here to ensure that you never forget. Nationwide's coverage is powered by our bronze sponsors: National Road Operating and Construction Company Limited, Digicel, Grace Foods, Spirits of Jamaica, Imperial Optical Jamaica, and Rainforest Caribbean.
Touching lives every day, so many different ways, a part of all you do. Sagicor will make you feel secure, reaching out for more, we'll always see you through. Reach for more, whatever you're dreaming, whatever your goals, will help you achieve them. You're never alone, taking care of today's needs, take care of tomorrow's dreams, every day helping you succeed. That's what Sagicor means. Today's needs, tomorrow's dreams.
with the KYMCA, whose 104th anniversary is this week. Activities commence on June 9 with worship hosted by Bethel Baptist Halfway Tree at 10 a.m. Then join them for opening day on Wednesday, June 12, showcasing the Y School program activities and summer camp registration. Then a family games night on Friday starting at 5:30 p.m. The week climaxes with a swimathon fundraiser Saturday at 7 a.m. and homecoming banquet in the evening, including an art auction and honoring past leaders. That's the KYMCA 104th anniversary, June 9 to 15, 2024.
The Faculty of Law at UWI Mona invites you to their 10th annual symposium on law, governance, and society, navigating tradition, embracing innovation, and expanding legal frontiers. Attend online or in person at the Iberostar Rose Hall Beach Hotel, Saturday, June 29 and Sunday, June 30. Panel presentations on international law, employment law and AI, environmental law, security transactions, constitutional interpretation, transfer pricing, and more. Register at www.mona.ue.edu/law or call 876-550-2680. CLPD credits available.
Building wealth the smart way means you have a clear mission for your money. Specific and measurable means defining the reason for your financial goals. Achievable and realistic means keeping those goals meaningful yet attainable. Think more retirement, less world's richest. Timely means keeping a time frame in mind so that all efforts remain focused.
Visit barita.com/opportunities for more growth coach insights.
It's time for a new look.
And high time to get serious about protecting our home and investment.
It's time to choose BH Paints with over 60 years experience in quality paint finishes. Their products are superior and long-lasting.
Time to check them out.
Ask about BH Paint's 100% acrylic Ultima Plus paint and primer in one. Experience rich colors with advanced UV and mildew-resistant technologies, independently tested by experts. What are you waiting for? Visit a BH Paints Color Center today.
Plan your tomorrow today. Introducing JMMB's Hello Future Retirement Planning website. Figure out how much you'll need to be set for life with our calculated tools and tips at your fingertips. Visit hellofuture.jmmb.com and start your journey to your dream retirement today. Conditions apply.
Experience Jamaica's Olympic triumphs in Jamaica Gold, a golden spotlight.
Brought to you by Horton's Pharmacy. Horton's RX Pack for better medication management.
After the 1952 Olympics, Jamaica endured a gold drought for 5 Olympic cycles. That's until Donald Quarry ended the streak at the 1976 Montreal Games, winning the men's 200 meters. Quarry made the Jamaican 100 meters team for the 1968 Summer Olympics as a 17-year-old, but he got injured in training and could not compete. In 1976, after winning the AAA's 100 and 200 meters titles, Quarry could finally compete at the Olympics without injuries. He first made the 100 meters final, which he led until overtaken by Trinidadian Hasty Crawford. In the 200 meters, Quarry led the pack, coming out of the turn and held off all challenges to take the title in 20.22 seconds.
Away they go, first time, and Quarry got a magnificent start in lane 2, and Quarry really taking them off, and wants to lapse on the track, I'm not quite sure it is, and there's another one down, Hampton it looks like, no, Hampton in the centre, there's Quarry, and Quarry comes home in front with Hampton in second place, Evans third, and Benny in fourth, and Quarry, the silver medalist in the 100, takes the 200 from Hampton, and in third place was Evans with Benny in fourth.
You just experienced a Jamaican Olympic triumph in Jamaica Gold, a golden spotlight.
Brought to you by Horton's Pharmacy. Horton's RX Pack for better medication management.
It's 20 minutes after 7. You're tuned into Nationwide at 5. We're on the final stretch, the final lap. We're taking your calls. The numbers are 630-937-124, 618-8255. I'm Ricardo Brooks.
And I'm Siobhan Campbell.
I see your friends on YouTube are having a discussion about free speech. What's going on? Godfrey Smith is asking Cliff Hughes and NNN, is the First Amendment dead or is it dying? What's your opinion on free speech and who ultimately has the canon on truth? Is that in the context, Godfrey, of something that happened in the United States?
I think it has to do with some banning that took place on the YouTube platform that I'm not aware of.
Oh, well, the First Amendment rights don't extend here.
That's a blunt way of putting
Jamaica
it.
doesn't have a First Amendment.
But
So
we
your
do have
First
freedom of speech.
No, absolutely.
Freedom of expression laws.
Which comes with responsibilities. I see. Oh, it's when we had to block a couple of them the other evening, Dana, when they were making false and defamatory comments. Oh, I see. Oh, well, YouTubers, it's simply, if you don't want to get blocked, do not make false, defamatory comments about people, or even derogatory comments. Some of you tend to lose your minds, yeah, and you think that you can hide behind the pseudonyms and the, fake names. No, it's not appropriate. KTB Wello is blocked. I don't know. I don't recall any such instruction going out. KTB Wello? No, nor does the producer. So I'm not sure that person is blocked at all. Yeah. Hermin blocked me. Hermin said, we blocked you. I did not do anything. I don't know, Hermin. I see you post something sometimes that, make my eyebrow go up. So I don't know if that's necessarily so. ISO Mario says moderators are real. Indeed, ISO Mario. And we have to moderate the space. But we welcome your comments and, sharing your views. There's absolutely no reason for the ugliness and vitriol that some of you spew. Yeah? And, when you don't want to hear a particular discussion, you attack people in the most personal and vile kind of way. It's not acceptable. Yeah? Not acceptable. Leroy Rotti says, not no couple, is one person. Oh, it's one person, Leroy. Okay, but I'm not sure.
It must be that KTV person.
I don't know. Dana hasn't blocked anybody this evening. Yeah?
It's a Cliff blocked KTB Wello.
Oh, that was Cliff. Oh, well, I can't speak to that.
I'm not sure the context of that block, but I don't know Mr. I don't know Mr.
Yeah, I don't know Carlene. Carlene is saying to unblock. Look, if you see a KTB Wello blocked, Dana, if Carlene vouches for the person, then it must be somebody who is good. We'll check Carlene. We'll check.
Ronald Rang does it, but it's only when you say things about some people that it blocks you.
No, that's not true. It's not true. You can say anything about anybody. What you can't do is defame people, Ronald Ranger. And that's what you all want the liberty to do. And let me speak specifically because I know what he's talking about. It was the other evening when they were making absolutely awful comments directed at the opposition leader. And the criticism was that when people say things about the Prime Minister, we don't react in the same way. I guarantee you, if we see anybody seeking to defame the Prime Minister, the same block will apply. I guarantee you.
I think what a lot of the YouTubers need to understand that if we don't monitor the space and others monitor it for us,
absolutely,
the circumstances and the ultimate problems that will stem from that will be far worse.
Yeah, and I mean,
not only for the YouTubers,
and it's just
us.
not necessary. It's just not necessary. Yeah, it's just not necessary. Are you seeing that one, Dana? KTB Wello? No, Carlene,
so,
Dana is not seeing that
at
all. Yeah, we didn't block KTB Wello. Yeah.
Remember that YouTube also monitors their space.
Yes. YouTube has that liberty, so they could act independent of us. But there's no reason. One can talk, one can have a discussion and heated discussion. Siobhan and I have heated discussion. I wish you guys could be privy to the discussion Siobhan and I have in the YouTube. We don't block each other though. We don't defame each other. Yeah,
we tune each other out though.
Oh no, yeah. When you go full nerd, I definitely tune you out. Yeah. Yeah.
Wayne, you're on the line.
Good evening, Wayne. Wayne? Not hearing Wayne. Oren says, but Ricardo, why was I blocked? I have never been rude but Oren, but you're not blocked. You're talking to us now.
I mean, if you were blocked in the past, I don't think Ricardo and I could speak with them.
Right, yeah, there's also that. Yeah, so if you were blocked in the past, I can't really, I don't know what you said back in the past, Oren. Hermin says, I was blocked for using unacceptable comments. Well, I don't know. I saw you make an unacceptable comment today, Hermin, just this afternoon, and it caused my eyebrow to go up. Calvin Watson says, I've listened to something, comrade. Okay, all right. No, not reading that.
And that is what we're referring to in terms of...
Ronald Ranger says, like or meet, you people sometimes. Absolutely, Ronald. I'm going to read your comments sometime. So all is fair, I suppose. Carlene Smith says, yes, she is, Ricardo. She's messaged me and was distraught. Carlene, we're not seeing that. We have no evidence of that. Dana has checked. So I'm not sure. I'm not sure what to tell you, Carlene.
If the individual is blocked, it was not Nationwide who blocked her.
Yeah. All right. Sorry about that, Carlene. Wayne, good evening.
Hi, good evening. First time this hour of the day.
Oh, welcome.
Okay, I'm not sure who is on tonight.
It's Ricardo and Siobhan. Siobhan and Ricardo.
Okay, good night, Siobhan and Ricardo, and to your listeners.
Good night.
Good evening, sir.
Yes, so my reason to call, first of all, continue with the very informative way you guys handle your show in the evening. I really take time out to listen to you. Find it to be very informative. And I think the nation needs to have more of this to help with. I think it's somewhat relaxing for me. Well, sometimes, not all the time.
Interesting. You find me and Siobhan relaxing? Well, that's a first. you just say that loud so our producer can hear, because she finds us nothing but irritating.
No, I think she... I can correct that to say you find Ricardo irritating, right, Dana?
Yeah.
Go ahead, Wayne.
Okay, so the reason I called is that I had an experience between yesterday and today.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought I should, I'm hoping that the Minister of Finance is listening. And it's the whole matter with the whole regulation with the Financial Services Commission.
Mm-hmm.
I'll be the first to say that the Financial Services Commission is a very important body. And I know they are like the watchdog in ensuring that legitimate business are taking place within the financial sector. However, sometimes I believe that some of the rules and regulations are too intrusive. And this is why I say that. So the situation was a transaction was made, and I won't call the company name. So the person was paying a policy, and they accidentally put in the wrong figure. So it was way more than the amount that they put in. And they went to the company to retrieve back the amount that went in. And the person was told that they need to they need to fill out a source of fund form. So I was there and I said, why you need to fill out a source of fund form when it was a transfer in here and it is coming from another bank? Because it's coming from a bank to an insurance company. I said, why do you need to fill out a source of fund form? And the first thing was that it's a FSC rule. So I said, okay, fine. So the person fill out the form and stating it's coming from the bank account. Then the person was then told that they need to provide further evidence, right? Further evidence for a transaction that we're paying their regular premium that they'll pay on a monthly basis. But this time they made an error with the amount. And they were subjected to have to go to the bank, get a bank statement, to come back to show that the fund that they have that is coming from the same bank have to prove on a bank statement. When they look on the transaction, no, they saw the transaction of the amount coming from the bank to them. They are now further investigating other. Let's say the transaction was made in May. They are now looking on April and March and transaction on the person's financial statement, and now it's questioning that you need to tell us how these money come by and all of that. I think that's too much. That's too much, and that's too much information given away. And it begs the question to wonder, why is it that we're having so many bank fraud? If it's that people are giving away too much information due to the FSC rules. And while I sat here, it baffled me because I said to myself, this is too much information given on a simple matter that you can trace where the funds is coming from a bank. It's coming from a bank that has to abide by the FSC rules. The person is still subjected to go to that same bank to bring a statement again. And when bring the statement, there are no further question as to other money that bank could have already satisfied themselves of your money passing through that entity. And by the way, they too would have to give an account to FSC. So I think that some of the rules it's either some of these entities don't understand, because I understand the rules.
So you think the system is overregulated?
Yeah, I understand you know your client and all that, and I'm understanding the objective. Mm-hmm. But I think they're overreaching, and it is frustrating the customers and aggravating them in such a way that a good entity may not look at in a bad light.
Well,
so the FSC perhaps need to come out more and get the public on board in better understanding what is it and how far and their rights and what are the boundaries with some of these financial entities, because I think some of them take on too much by them head.
Well, you call the
reaching than what the FSC is required.
You call the right evening. Siobhan has custody of financial and economic matters here at Nationwide, and I'm sure he'll bring it up with the FSC when he gets a chance.
All right.
All right? Yeah, man.
Yeah.
630-937-124, 618-8255. Richard, good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening, Richard.
How are you, gentlemen,
doing well. How are you?
I'm far from bad as always. I know when you're good enough.
Oh, yes.
Now, this is the first time I'm going to take on the Mark Golding issue. And I am annoyed when I heard on the news today that it's an internal matter. Oh. What makes it an internal matter? This is a national matter. And I hate to see when people think that me is a fool. I go to high school. I mean, I didn't finish college, but I can think. And I have common sense.
Yeah, it's certainly not an internal matter. It's not an internal matter.
But certainly it has to be settled internally before it can be dealt with in any other venue.
No, I don't know that. I don't even know if I agree with that, Siobhan.
I don't agree with that.
You know what? Anyway. I don't know. I don't necessarily agree that it has to be settled. What is there to settle? What is there to settle? It's either Mr. Golding believes that his dual citizenship is something he has an absolute right to, and he doesn't think he's breaching any principles, and he'll either renounce it or not.
And let us know where we stand.
Yeah. And then the Jamaican people can decide accordingly.
Separate and apart from Mr. Golding's position, and we don't know if Mr. Golding is suggesting that he will never renounce. I can't speak to that. I think he should have renounced long ago, as it stands now. But shouldn't the party, as the PNP as a whole, come to its own position on the matter?
You should tell the listeners what happened today when I watched you call the members of the PNP's parliamentary caucus, and each time you call, I could hear the no comment, no comment, no comment, no comment, or the no comments you were getting. And I'm saying that's either just brazen cowardice or political expedience. Because I don't think 13 of them have no comment. And certainly you called all of them, didn't you?
I won't say all, but most. Most people I could get on the phone I called.
And it's always no comment?
Except with the exception of one.
So they have us believe they have no opinion, no view, no...
No, they said they didn't have an opinion. They said they had no comment. Not that precludes them from the argument. It's just they don't want to voice an opinion publicly.
Sounds like cowardice to me.
I can't disagree with that position.
Okay, my final point here. I am a big cricket lover like Cliff Hughes, and he's supposed to give me his West Indies team, great team of all time, but I don't know what he's keeping up, But
you West Indies faithful. I really feel it for all of you, honestly.
No. I am not so faithful enough, because when they foolishness and they cut against them, I don't watch, because I don't stoop to rubbish, But I watch the highlights. Only when they win, I watch the highlights from the series against South Africa here in Kingston and what's going on in the world. The highlight is horrible. The way they spice up the tape, it's very unprofessional. And then even when I was watching the one with Uganda, the they cut off in midway.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to understand, are these not professional people?
All right, Richard.
My respect.
Yeah, man, thanks for the call. Who am I says, but the Jamaican Constitution allows Mr. Golding such dual UK citizenship, Commonwealth privileges. Okay, who am I? And therefore, Mr. Golding must say whether he will retain the citizenship because he believes he is legally sound, on legally sound footing. That's all. That's all I'm saying. Just declare a position, a forthright position
I'm
on
no
it.
longer detained with those suggestions that it's legal. It's legal. Nobody questioned the legality of it. People question the ethicality and morality of it. And if we really cannot separate the two and realize that you can have a moral issue without having a legal one, where are we going in Jamaica?
630-937-124, 618-8255. Fergie, good evening.
Yes, good evening to both of you, Campbell and yourself. I missed the name now, Senior Moments, right?
That's fine.
First, I must declare, right, that I am a resident of FinSac, right? And I have a very serious suggestion to the Minister of Finance. He's fixing certain things, but he needs to include that something like FinSac should never take place again. The reason is that you should never, no Bank of Jamaica should allow, or the ministry should never allow anybody to give a person a loan at an agreed rate, say 25% per annum, and then they have the right down the line to collect taxpayers' money to bail themselves out and charge people 110% like loan sharks, right? And they take over the people's assets and so on in FinSac. That's what happened in FinSac, right? And sell them to what they want to do, a private treaty and all kind of questionable things went on, right? I am saying they should have a law in the new constitution that we know that if a man sign an agreement, I'd say, for instance, a fixed percentage rate for the duration of the loan, right? They can only increase that interest rate relative to the rate of inflation of the day. What gives them the right to move from 25 to 110% interest, compounded? That's loan shark and, usury business. You should not give life to the banks to behave in that way. And then when they do all the thing, then they send in the scavengers, right? Anyway, I feel strongly about it, and the ministry need to take serious note. You're encouraging people to go into business now, entrepreneurs. They go out and they take risk, right?
And if the risk don't work out, they should kind of just...
Pardon?
If the risk don't work, they go out to take the risk. So if the risk doesn't work out, they should just deal with the consequences of that risk, is what you're saying?
If the risk don't work out,
yeah.
Then I'm saying, but you can't legitimize loan shark behavior.
It's interesting that you brought that up, though, because I recall at a recent, I believe it was a Epoch media briefing where we were just sitting down and talking about certain suggestions. I believe it was Mr. Duncan who suggested that we entrench the fiscal rules that we currently have in the Constitution, and rather than just leave it to legislation of the day. So it's interesting that you brought it up,
Exactly. They need to revisit that suggestion, because you see, you have a lot of young entrepreneurs coming up now. I started my business at 21, and I work like son of a hell to build it 14 hours a day. And I lost everything that I accumulated because the banks were allowed to take taxpayers' money. Right? The government allow them to, give them taxpayers' money to bail them out, right? And they turn around and behave like loan sharks and compound interest on the people money up to 110% compounded. And that is allowed to take place in this country. It should never happen again. It's almost equivalent to slavery.
The stories that I heard from that FinSac era are quite sobering, but that is why we have the kind of, as one caller earlier said, the kind of overprotective fiscal policies that we have in place today in terms of banking regulations,
right?
And your customer requirements. It's from the lessons we learned from that period of time when it was essentially a free-for-all.
Right. Well, this is
that nearly destroyed the country.
They should make sure it never happen again. Because there are many entrepreneurs now that are wondering, suppose it should have happened again. There's nothing to stop it from happening again because there's no legislation in there. You must have a feeling where...
Well, I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't say that. I believe the legislative framework that we have now in terms of regulations for the financial sector, coming from that FinSac issue, have kept any such thing happening over the last 20 years. And there's a reason for that, because those legislations are now so tight that the ability for a bank to do what took place in the FinSac era is almost impossible.
Right, but what I'm saying...
It brought us some other problems with it that now need to be contended with, but I don't think a problem on the scale of FinSac, or at least the fallout of FinSac, should be plausible under our current fiscal regulations.
Well, no system is perfect, you know.
None is.
So I'm just saying it should be a constitutional right of a person. If you have an agreement, it's an agreement. You have an agreement, I'm borrowing the money at 25%. What gives you the right to carry to 110 compounded without it being related to inflation or anything? What is the reason what justification you have to doing that? And the government allow it. That's loan sharp behavior. That's all I have to say, sir.
Yes, sir. Have a good evening.
All right, thank you.
Terry, good evening.
Yeah, man. Good evening to the guys, man. Ricardo and Chevon.
Evening, sir.
Yeah, man. First time caller, but I want to keep my company. I mean, from morning to night, nationwide. Kind of listen to, I'm living in Bronx in the New York area, and trust me, from them discharge station up here, it's like, I say, kind of tune in to this so I can get me, information from Jamaica a certain way. You know what I deal with?
That's good.
And I want to tell us, from Mr. Hughes go right back down to the whole of the funny, man. There is something else that time. I make me laugh sometime, and sometimes me just say, yeah. Me love it. So I just want to say, keep up the good work. Go all on the station, man. And just know, say, New York tune in to me all hear a station up here where play on a program right through. You know what I deal with? Which is underground station, but nonetheless, you know what I deal with?
Yes.
So that's why I make you know, say, go under the door, man, and even Tyrone with what I love to say, angry banger. You know what I deal with?
Yes.
Yeah, every time he said that, he make me laugh, I swear. But just so I make you know, say, yo, as I say, it's a good little thing. Not even little thing, it's a good big thing on that. You know what I say? You know Jamaican chat already.
Yeah.
And you know what I want to say though? You see the teacher lady that we get killed the other day with the in-service care company.
Yes.
Yeah. Let me tell you something. Me is an Uber driver right now, right?
Mm-hmm.
And let me tell you something. You see more while when you have clients come in your car, and sometimes they may all ask you if your car look good, smell good, and the vibe right with the driver. You have clients where come in and they may ask to say if them can call you direct instead of to go through the system sometime.
Right.
So you see...
Yes, I was being told that, yes.
Yeah, so the other day I was thinking, and I say, yo, when the big man them finally answer the minister and they must say, like, the last time she actually put in a call through the system, it's been a while, and that's what come to my mind. I say not more than she probably drive with him before.
Right.
But they must say him is not on the platform. But
yes,
my
they
thing
did
is,
say that, yes.
him couldn't dip on the platform, and he do something wrong before and then deactivate him system, You understand?
Mm.
Because like I said, me drive for Uber, me drive for other local taxi service up here. Because a taxi work me do, you understand?
Mm-hmm.
And me I think that maybe something like that go on. And maybe then they kick him off of the platform. So what the minister needs to do, he needs to dig deep and see if him actually was ever a part of the platform. You understand? Because
prior to the alleged incident.
Yeah, I think the information what they give, it was a little bit too glim. sound like them have got deep enough,
Mm-hmm.
and he need to do a deeper poll with them because, as I say, him couldn't be a driver. What did I drive with the platform before, and then he get kicked off by a platform, and maybe him and the lady did exchange number before, and she called him directly. Because I have more than one. I have friends at Jamaica where, them do, when people pick them up and stuff at charter, and I call directly. Me I deal with something like that too.
Yeah, I understand. I mean, and I expect Fitzbailey and his team, they've been on top of this matter. And I expect that they'll get to the bottom of it.
Yeah, man. But, I want to tell you, man, just continue doing a good job. And, listen, at the end of the day, brother, just want Jamaica to know, say, a lot of time when them things are fine in a bed, is a better road, brother. Sometimes when down there live better than we up here. So, I don't want a man feel like, say, all we have to do is use the head down there, brother, and just make sure you do the right thing, because Jamaica is paradise. You understand?
I agree with you, Terry.
Brother, the league is from 1996. From your 15-year-old, I come here, so. You understand? And remember, I tell you, say, when I see some people come here, so them go a certain way, brother, I not understand it. And a lot of time, I just bleed me out. Man come here, say, in a 1 week, and then start go on a certain way, like, then make it.
Yes.
Then I make it, brother. Remember, I tell you, say, no one no nicer than Jamaica. You understand? All you have to do is tap the whole heap of killing down there. You hear me? And just go and do and half of the brother. I want to get a little chance to come here and come do some work, do your work, buy a land in Jamaica, buy a nice little house, and set up some business. Because up there, stand a better road, brother. You understand?
That makes sense, Terry.
Pick up on yourself.
Thanks for the call.
And we talk, brother.
Yes, my brother. Thanks for the call. I see that KT Buelo is back. It was actually KT Buelo. Apparently, K is back on the YouTube platform. She's doing a victory lap. I'm bigging up her massive and her friends. So welcome back, KT Buelo. Not sure what happened. Who's next, Dana? Carl.
Evening, Ricardo.
What a go on, my friend?
Evening, Shabbat.
Evening, Carl.
My brother. We're going to have electronic things in this book, I know.
What a go on? What mean the streets do?
Yeah, man. Me hear a British citizen last week, or this week, I talk about the tax officer Mandeville. So I want to take you down. Him say $1 billion I go fix up, put in furniture and all kind of things, and I taxpayer them money I got to friend.
Mm-hmm.
But what the British citizen didn't remember.
That was the speech he gave when he was in Manchester.
Right. What the British citizen did not remember. Out of many was a PMP person who get bailed out. So if the tax officer fix a Mandeville, one day, that go benefit the people of Manchester, Clarendon, and St. Elizabeth.
Mm-hmm. That's certainly the vision we've heard outlined by the TAJ as to why they didn't choose other
right. So
facilities.
when the British citizens thought that's foolishness. And what the British citizen didn't stop to remember is that somebody from his party is involved into that very tax office.
You know we're not going down that road though, right?
All right, leave it right there.
Okay.
Leave it there, sir.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Go back when the British citizen talk. When KLAS get bailed out again, it was a fully PMP person who get buy out all the equipment.
Oh, hold on. Back up before you go any further. Because this whole argument about bailout and I don't know what happened to the tax administration and the building. Because
I don't know how he come there.
And that's why sometimes you know if you follow up the foolishness, Carl.
No,
you mustn't
Ricardo.
follow up the foolishness.
Well,
you must
no,
rise
Ricardo.
above it. You must
Ricardo.
your party leader on Sunday. I heard him say, "Hold on." No? I heard him say that him not in and back and forth with nobody. Follow that example. Follow that example.
Hold on, Ricardo. But you can't make this British citizen come from we are England. And who never knew.
Mr. Golding was born in Jamaica.
An issue you checked yourself.
I checked it myself.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, the British citizen. You can't make the British citizen come and spread those type of things because the young voter them who we have here go to, when I know about those things, we have to teach them. We have to outer road.
So what you should come and say is that there is no evidence that this is linked to any kind of bailout or sweetheart deal, or you should come and make
Which
that.
the Auditor General herself has said.
Precisely. Come with the facts. You don't need to go back into the history and try to say, but them did do it too.
Ricardo. Enough people in Jamaica never even know about KLASSL.
Yeah, but I'm saying to you, Carl, I am saying to you, if you wish, Carl, to rebut Mr. Golding's substantive points in Manchester, you have enough facts, about this thing to do that without having to raise outer money or KLS or whatever other deal you're raising. You have enough facts, pure raw facts, to rebut without raising those things. As Siobhan just said, the Auditor General herself investigated the matters and found no such sweetheart deal or bailout or any of that kind of thing.
Ricardo,
yes.
I want to give you something to investigate.
Okay.
We could go to some reality tonight and all that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know when last anybody check up what is happening into Chilani concerning the stadium that was built here. The last time before the coronavirus, it was costing the taxpayer of Jamaica over $2 million a month for light and security.
We have quite a few white elephants across the country.
Hello?
Yes, our information is that it's running down. It's just they're running down. Yes.
Okay. Ricardo,
Mm-hmm.
I heard young Michael Phillips was a lot of person was looking forward to step up to the ladder and come with things that people that understand him. Not do like Damian Crawford talk foolishness. And what he said this evening was internal. Michael, everybody out there is an idiot, Michael. We are no idiot. We can't think for ourselves. We can't think for ourselves, Michael.
In terms of what? In terms of his comment that it's an internal party matter?
Internal party matter.
Well, he never said it was an internal party matter. He said that the party would deal with it internally, arrive at a position.
This is like that. See, if we never push and back up the British citizen in our corner and wouldn't run to the Glen on the Sunday evening, and we've been asking him, never ask my Prime Minister, Andrew, they are going to Parliament next week Tuesday. Walk with your Jamaica passport, please. And we're going to ask the leader of the opposition to walk with for him 2 passports.
Okay, Carl.
We need to see the 3 passports in the Parliament next week Tuesday evening. And open them sheet by sheet.
Let me give Zen Queen a chance. We're almost out of time. Thanks for the call, Carl. Zen Queen, good evening.
Hi, good evening.
Good evening.
Ricardo and Siobhan. I'm good. I just wanted to check something. We pay education tax, right?
Yes.
Yes, we do.
And the tax goes into the consolidated fund.
Yes, correct.
All right. And what about the taxes from the tourism industry? Where does that go?
Those specifically go to the tourism enhancement fund specifically.
All right.
Right. You mean like the duty when tourists are coming in? And
it's $50 doesn't go into the consolidated fund at all.
I think Siobhan is right. I think it's
I'm
the TEF.
not sure if it does not go into the college. I believe there was an attempt to change it at one point for it to go to the consolidated fund, and the TEF then receives a budget
from that.
I cannot recall if that went through, but I believe it did. So that might actually just go to the consolidated fund as well. It was part of the fiscal realignment that took place under the IMF.
All right. Well, I want you to check it out and tell me if that is so. All right. And then, since we are so afraid of new taxes, I think I would suggest that the education fund, the education tax, should go directly to deal with education.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think of that?
Yeah, that's what it was intended for.
Yeah, but that's
what they
the
told us. That's what they
consolidated
told us.
fund. So I'm saying it's a particular tax, and it should be used.
Yeah, I wouldn't object to that.
Yeah, I think that instead of bringing up new taxes, I think that is where Mr. Crawford should go. Insist that the education tax be used exclusively for education.
He did address that in a sort of a roundabout way. He said that the amount collected from the education tax is still less than the budget provided to education. So in a way, it's still accounted for in terms of what is spent in education.
Oh, is it? That's what the analysis says?
That's what he said. I have not done that analysis to say if that's the case. I don't know how much in specifically from the education tax the government collects in terms of revenue.
Which again would be proof that we spend a lot on education.
We do, 20%.
Yeah, no, I take your point.
So make sure, when you come back next, just do some research and let us hear exactly how.
All right, I will follow up with Siobhan to make sure he does his homework. And
I was right. I pulled it up, and yes, in 2017, the TEF, the Jamaica Civil Aviation Authority, and the Chase Fund were all de-earmarked as part of the IMF standby agreement.
When you said de-earmarked, what do you mean?
It means it no longer went to their own specific funds. It went to the consolidated fund.
Oh. All right. Well, see if some of it can be, if the education tax can be used exclusively for education, no?
All right, Zen Queen. Thanks for the call.
All right. And you take care.
Have a good
Bye-bye.
one. Yeah, man.
But it's interesting you brought that up because at that time in 2017, I remember quite clearly where the government and the IMF argued that this notion of earmarked funds that are done or utilized for special purposes is not in keeping with proper fiscal prudence.
So it wouldn't be wise.
So even that matter of the education tax, which I have a feeling will be adjusted at some point, along with things like the NIS and others, to make room for that new, what they call it, the unemployment insurance.
Right.
So creating a specific tax header that
the
encompasses
I
all
the
of
minister,
these things,
yes, I recall the minister
rather
addressing
than this tax is collected for this and this tax is collected for X, Y, Z.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's see. That's all the time we have, listeners. Thank you so much for keeping us company this Thursday afternoon. That's all the time for Nationwide at 5. Special thanks to Dana Davey, Delicia Brown Bull, Andrew Glenn Anderson, Galen Bubblegum. Special thanks to Cara Powell, our editor, and all our colleagues in the news and production teams. Thank you all so much for supporting us. I'm Ricardo Brooks.
And I'm Siobhan Campbell.
Good evening.
Nationwide 90 FM is at